Okay. Welcome, one and all to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to discuss issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And, gang, I gotta tell you, I had such a good Thanksgiving. I didn't get on at all, right? I ate my stuffing, I ate my turkey, right? I only saw a little bit of like and show yesterday, just a smidge. But other than that, right? Other than that, I stayed away from social media and it was great. So thank you all for being here. We're going to have a great discussion today about men. Men. Why men? Why are men? Why men do things, right? Why do we have such manly issues going on? What are the issues that men have to face? Should we be talking about this at all, right? We're going to go over it. We're going to talk about it. I brought the manliest men I know, right, in
True.
to discuss this. So I want to thank each and every single person. Mr. Hammer, we're going to start with you because you are a self-described men's rights advocate. And so I
Yes.
want you to kind of give us a spiel, right? What do you mean men's rights? What does that mean? What do you want to see happening that isn't happening? Maybe start us off with that. And thank you, gang, for the subscriptions and the subs and Twitch. 20 months. Portland is burning. Really appreciate you. Feel free to continue to give me money as we go. But with that, Mr. Hammer, give us your spiel.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, I've been kind of tuned into the men's rights issue, which has been around for a long time, a lot longer than people have thought. And we've been like basically we've been talking about like the same issues that people are talking about now for like a long time, and nobody really took us seriously. Nowadays, you really like if you're tuned into this space, you can't not hear about the men's issues that people face. But even so, even though people are talking about it, they're really not equipped to actually tackle these issues. We've basically our only gender movement that we've known is feminism, and people think about these issues from a feminist lens, but that doesn't work because feminism is focused on women, and people don't really have the terminology or the knowledge or the like way of activism that I think is necessary to actually push these issues. I think that we need to I think we need to encourage men to come together and talk about these issues amongst themselves and advocate them for themselves, regardless of whatever women or feminists say.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Soyato, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know how long you didn't give us a date, Mr. Hammer. So I have been aware of and tangential to the men's rights movement since I guess 2011, 2012 era, right before the wonderful episode that we know as Gamergate occurred. At the time, I was freshly joined to the games industry, and I had an eyeful of what was out there. People like Paul Watson are toxic and not really helping men. Even though they come from a thing they call the men's rights movement, I don't consider that particularly helpful to men. I think that we look at things like intersectional feminism, or AKA the power structure analysis in Marxist theory, probably a little more productive overall because we're looking towards the future, right? We're not looking to fight men versus women. We're looking to dismantle that hierarchy of gender and sex. So,
Okay.
hi, I'm Soyaddle, aka Carl. That's like Seattle without the Seat and the soy. You can find me on wonderful places like the Thorium Remix channel on YouTube, where I gave my keynote address to Thorium Energy Alliance conference last year. I've been in the games industry for a decade. I've been in broadcast as a broadcast tech for about 6 months before RIP Amazon decided not to fund any more of that stuff. So shout out to everyone at the Crown Channel. I hope you're doing well.
Well, thanks for
That's it.
being here, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. I am curious what you think the correct path is, if not the one that Hammer has laid out. But before we get to that, I have to bring in my friend Lactoid. Lactoid, how are you?
Doing sick. How's my voice? How's my audible? Everything good?
You're
You
fine.
sound fine.
What
Yeah,
what
so
is the biggest issues that men face today, Lactoid? Do we have issues that we need to tackle?
yeah, I think so. I think that I would think the MRA dude is pretty based. I agree. There's a lot of issues that men face that aren't really talked about. And I think it's oftentimes through lens of feminism that the issues of men kind of go unnoticed or just completely ignored. So, for example, right? I mean, whenever feminists talk about things like the wage gap, the argument is, well, women are underpaid. Well, that also implies that men are overpaid. But of course, this has been consistently misrepresented. There's a sentencing disparity when it comes to men. People talk a lot about the racial disparity when it comes to sentencing. That's minor compared to the gender disparity when it comes to sentencing. And then also, I think culturally speaking, there's sort of a open season where you have pop stars that are more than willing to talk shit about men, and they're considered pop stars, which is behavior that really is only relegated when men do it to people like Eminem or kind of the hardcore rap scene. So.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We'll see how it goes. Lawson Harrison, you're the one that wanted to bring this panel together.
Well, I specifically wanted a panel where we could just shit on our exes, and you said that this was the closest thing we could do to that. So.
Okay, we could do that later, but for now, we're going to talk about men's issues, but go
on.
Well, are men's issues primarily women, or is it really women's fault?
No. No, when I think of Battle of the Sexes, I think of more of a dance, I guess, if you will. I don't think gender dynamics is something that is going to go away. I think when it comes to like gender roles, I'm always for getting rid of forced or like encouraged gender roles, but I don't think it's something that like the hierarchy that I believe 𝕾𝖎𝖙 spoke of. I don't think that's something that's going to go away, but I think it's something that we could at least kind of mitigate so that people don't feel like they're being forced into certain roles.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the suggestion of the topic. It's always fun to shit on women, but we're going to try to focus on improving men today, okay? Shitting on women can come later. 𝕾𝖍𝖎, thank you for joining us. Hi.
Hey, glad to be here, man.
What are your thoughts? Are men in trouble?
I mean, men have a lot of issues, absolutely, but I think that I guess the blaming of feminism or the hand waving of feminism is I don't know, a little anti-intellectual in this regard, because and this is coming from a dude who thought feminism was pretty bunk, pretty bullshit, and when people said, well, it's about men too, it kind of sounded pretty fucking lame. But the reality is, when you come to a lot of the issues that women face when it comes to men, there's that tie-in. Like, men aren't allowed to express their emotions. Men aren't allowed to, build bonds with other men the way that women are able to do so with other women. Exactly. And I mean, so a lot of the issues when women want, they use the term, feminists use the term toxic masculinity, which everyone wants to cringe at. But, you take 3 seconds to actually think about what it might entail. It's exactly that, right? Men can't have to hold it in. Men have so many burdens in this world. And they're not allowed to be expressive about it. They're not allowed to seek help. They're not encouraged to be emotional. So unless we're going to get down red pill territory where everyone on this panel thinks that men shouldn't, they must be stoic, that's just going to be, continuation of the issue, which is that men need to be able to be expressive and vulnerable and not be held to the one position they're in. And feminism's the same thing, right? It's that women should not be held to a certain position. There should be that kind of equilibrium when it comes to both, sucking it up and handling the issues the world throws at you, where at the same time it's going out there and being human. Men aren't given the space to do that in a lot of ways. So I think that in a lot of cases, feminism does address that issue. And so to just hand wave it as some, woo-woo bullshit that's not really considerate of men is just lost in the sauce, man. It's not based in reality.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it today. It's one of the reasons I brought you, with your base takes on this. Speaking of base takes on this, Tuna Chip.
Hey, what's going on, Wick?
A little bit of a last-minute addition, but Tuna was begging and pleading and crying in my DMs, being very emotional. And I was like, you know what? Okay,
absolutely.
But go on, Tuna.
I went in there, and the first thing I said is, do you need like a little fucking baby bitch inside of this panel? And he said, you know what? After I got stuffed all last night, I need somebody else to be the one getting stuffed on the panel. No, okay. Gender, men, the very concept. The easiest way to pull my perspective in it is that technology has sort of replaced the essential role of men in society. slowly but surely, every technological shift has made it so that men are less essentially tied to their features. So they become these like aesthetic things that are mostly about like dating and sex. So like strength has been replaced by cranes and guns. A lot of these new jobs that we have don't need male typical values, but instead want you to be flexible, want you to be very intellectual, but in a way that is like adaptive as opposed to like super focused on a single task, specialized or whatever you would want to call it. So basically, I think that the anxiety that men are feeling is coming from a shifting environment that has affected men more than women in terms of our core roles, and as far as I'm concerned, we're already kind of in the post-gender society. At least men are. We have 1 foot in the post-gender, 1 foot in the previous.
And with that, gang, let's open it up and let's talk about it.
I love it.
I will support.
I'll support Tuna Chip's, woke MGTOWism. That's men going their own way. I don't see a problem with it. I think that as long as we can get society to accept the MGTOWs, we're here for it.
That's kind of one of my biggest problems. By the way, for the record, I'm not like red pill. I've never been red pill. I've never accepted red pill. I've never liked anybody who's part of the red pill. And I hate the implication that the men's rights movement is a part of the red pill. It never has been, and it's not supposed to be. And one of the reasons that I hate the red pill is because like, even though they're always shitting on women, if you look at what they want, it's always the approval of women. Like, what does Andrew Tate talk about? You need to get a bunch of Bugattis and then the women will come to you. And that's the entire crux of everything he says. But like, shouldn't the entire point of speaking for men and coming together as men not be like, freeing, like, not that you shouldn't want to be with a woman or have a partner, but that you should be free from like this obsession with like appealing to women.
I want to like get a few guideposts from you, Mr. Hammer. Is Paul Watson or Jordan Peterson, are they red pill or men's rights?
Paul Watson, is that the guy on the Alex Jones show? Paul Watson,
no, he's a very old blogger for the men's rights movement around when I became aware of it.
I'm pretty sure I think he's a contributor for Alex Jones now, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
If it's the Paul Watson I'm thinking of, then no, I don't support really anything Paul Watson says. In terms of Jordan Peterson, I'm kind of mixed. I would say he's more like conservative tradcon, and so I think he has a lot of really good supportive things that he says. But like, I just wish Jordan Peterson would like stand on his base principles and like stand against like the crazy conservatives and he shit on Andrew Tate.
Okay,
like,
I'm going to guide this a little bit because I think we're going to go all over the place if I don't have some really good direction here. So I guess lightning round, biggest question, biggest issue men face today. Real quick, Lactoid, go. Biggest issue, number 1.
Oh shit. Biggest issue, yeah, shit, for sure. Biggest issue, I think, is being a fucking target, culturally speaking.
They're targeted unfairly. Lawson, biggest issue.
Dating.
Dating's the biggest issue. Lycan, what's the biggest issue men face today?
Mental health. Tuna, what's the biggest issue men face today?
Lack of purpose.
I guess that ties into mental health. Carl, biggest issue.
Oh man, this is the biggest issue. Okay, the biggest issue for me is sort of place in the workforce.
And last but not least, Hammer.
Safety.
What? Okay. I got all the other ones. You're going to have to elaborate on the safety.
Sure. So if you look at all the statistics, men, pretty much from every cause, men are more likely to die from everything. In workplaces, obviously in the military, 80% of murders are men. Like, and also when it comes to like capital punishment, even though it's not as big of an issue, like, look at the skewing numbers on that. Like, most people who are put to death are men. People don't really care about the safety of men, and it leads to higher rates of death. People don't really care about the mental health of men, so they commit suicide. Like, men are literally dying.
Hammer, I gotta ask, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Okay. Yeah. Hey, how do you feel unsafe? Like, you could walk around Chaz, downtown Seattle, and you should not feel unsafe.
What if,
I mean,
if someone
guns.
has a weapon? Yeah, what if someone has a weapon?
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, he could
It depends
absolutely get
what city
shot.
then.
yeah.
He could.
Or
but,
what if?
but
what if-
everyone,
what if they're-
we are. This is the most egalitarian tool in the universe. Is the handgun? So
Yeah.
what? Like,
Okay, then your point is broke. Like, what? Then why bring my height into question? Because
Not-
I mean, if physical size, if guns equal physical size, then the only thing that matters more at this point is who are people more willing to kill, and people are more willing to kill men.
It's not
Okay.
a nullifier. It's not a nullifier. It's a negator. It's a negator of physical strength as a continuum, which means that all of the other things matter more.
okay, then
the fact that
why?
people
then why
like
are-
women more? People like
Yeah.
women more. They don't like certain things about them, but we're more protective. We care more about their desires, and we definitely care more about whether or not they're safe. So much so that many men define their life entirely around whether or not there are women that they cater to the desires and safety of. Like, that's the whole definition of being like a good boyfriend, a good father.
True.
That's the closest people have to men having a purpose that doesn't get derided. Most of the men that have a strong purpose that is not attached to female desire are derided because they're CEOs. Oh, you rich fucking, we're going to eat you when it comes time. Or there's some kind of man going their own way. Whether or not you're like defining, like the fact that sentence, the fact that as a concept is a sentence, it's like a descriptor, men going their own way. It's very similar to pick me, where when we judge women, we're saying, you should be whoever you are individually, and men will pick you for who you are genuinely. If a man ever decides to live as himself and not within the female desire matrix, he needs to be the categorical other.
The
He needs to be
female
a man going
desire
the other way.
matrix.
Absolutely, that's what gender is.
The female
What do you
desire
think? Why-
matrix. Okay.
Why do men want abs? Why do men want abs?
It's
It
generally
used
to
to be-
impress women.
It used to be in some of the classic Greek philosophy stuff, and everybody likes to go into that stuff, and it's like, oh, I deserve and I owe it to myself to see my best form. That's not why men are at the gym. They want to be sexy so that they have female attention, so that they feel desired by women.
Do you think the same goes
Men are
for
going to
women
want,
in
even
makeup?
if women, hold on, even if women didn't want abs, men are always going to want female attention. That's never going to change, even if the body standards, I mean, the whole dad bod thing and stuff. If you've had any experience in the dating world beyond, I don't know, your early 20s, like the dad bod thing is real. It's not some bullshit. A lot of women like dudes that kind of have that strong but also kind of fluffy look to them.
True.
So the abs thing they're not required. So if suddenly no one gave a shit about abs, men would still be doing anything to get female attraction. I
not
firmly
criticizing
believe.
it. I'm not criticizing it. Men are putting on maid outfits to be attracted to women. Like, we know that you can completely subvert, quote unquote, typical ideas of masculinity. But what is masculinity? Wanting to be wanted by women. That's what heterosexuality, male sexuality is. When you put on a dinky little dress and become a femboy and start using non-binary
How many
pronouns,
people are, wait, I'm sorry. So some conservative dude that was on a panel, he used a term, I can't think of a better term for it, but he called it nut picking, where you kind of take some little extreme examples that really don't represent any significant majority, and you kind of point to those to say, that's crazy, fuck this shit overall. And really, that's not representative of men. So, I mean, what percent of men are really going out there and turning themselves into femboys to try to get female attention? Is it
But that's
anything
not the point.
significant that
There's
speaks
a
to a
term
bigger
called
issue?
transmaxing, where this is the theory. This is the MRA theory that or I guess red pill theory, is that some men are transmaxing in order to get women's attention.
What?
But the point isn't that.
Hold
the
on.
point
No,
isn't
I
that like.
don't. Before we
This
go
wasn't
on,
meant to be
I
a
don't.
criticism.
I didn't.
What?
I don't know. First of all, $5 from Cryborn to say systemically sexist schooling is the biggest issue facing males today. But we'll get to schooling later. But transmaxing? I don't.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Yep. You become a femboy, or you even totally transition, and now you're I disavow this perspective that you actually transition and then you get mad puss from that.
But again, how many people are doing this? This is like my mom coming to me and saying, do you know there's a such thing as sissy hypno porn? And it's like, yeah, sure. Some people like that. Who gives a fuck? The
Well,
majority
it's
of porn is not
successful.
that.
Well,
Wait,
first off,
I have a question.
First off, Mom, I shouldn't have to use incognito mode to live under your rule. That's the first thing you said. But
Okay.
no, I'm not. If you maybe you're missing what I'm trying. I'm not trying to say a critical thing. What I'm trying to say is our language is demonstrative of how the male gender and male desire in relation to self is. Men find themselves more reflexively self-defining as opposed to self. Women are more like, you go, girl, be your best self, pursue your individual. They have a better culture around that. Men, we've kind of leaned deeply into this idea that you're a bit of a loser if you aren't trying to figure out the mediated space between who you want to be and what gets you wanted.
I think that speaks to what your point is saying. I think that could speak in general as the red pill movement in a large way, right? That's a huge representation of the type of mentality you're talking about, right? Which is just the mix of red pill or pickup artistry, where it's like, how do you make yourself into something that's more desirable? Instead of the message being yourself will find you someone who desires you, right?
So that's obviously the issue is that, I mean, we can agree that like men, again, obsessing over like the approval of women is like a problem that we shouldn't accept. I already disavowed the red pill movement for that. So I'm guessing you would say that like feminism is the solution for that, but how? Like, what is an example?
Is
Like,
anyone saying that? Just
I don't think it's
Well-
explicitly feminism. It's just that feminism does carry some of that some of the ideals of feminism, what they would like to see from men, do address the issues we're talking about.
I want to
Can I
talk
shut
about that
feminism,
if I may. So Lycan, can you elaborate on that a little bit? When you say that some of the ideals of feminism will get men what they need, can you be more specific? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, so when you ask like what do I think one of the biggest issues are, I think it's mental health. I think it comes with loneliness. That kind of covers in a lot of ways a lot of issues that the men face. So whether it's loneliness, whether it's self-esteem, whether it's the burdens they feel in life as men. Women don't want, they say, like I said earlier, toxic masculinity, right? That kind of that stoic, fuck you kind of dude who's not going to be in touch with his feelings or emotions or able to be expressive. The dad that tells his kid, tells his son, don't cry, but like, comforts the daughter when she cries, right? That early childhood development kind of moment is going to lead to a dude who's not able to be expressive with himself. And in turn, that is going to create negative attributes as an adult that are going to probably make them not really great partners to women. So that's where women would come in and say, with regard to feminism, they don't want to see that kind of behavior from men. But then when it comes to men, that's going to help them not be so lonely. If men could be vulnerable with other men, if men could, express their feelings and the issues they're having and have those open discussions and not feel like, well, this guy's going to think I'm a pussy if I tell him about the issues I'm having. I think that's one really good example of where feminism wants to see that kind of behavior from men, and where men could genuinely benefit from that type of change. And unfortunately, it's something that has to start like with the way we're raised. Unless most people don't change that kind of behavior
Carl,
later.
Real quick, but first of all, thank you for the gift subs, and thank you for resubbing. We are on a hype train right now, so if you want to keep giving me money as we talk, that's my purpose, right? You talk about Wicks going their own way. My way is money. Give me money. Okay, Carl, go ahead.
So, like, outside of podcasting, where do men find this?
Where do men find that? I mean, that's kind of where the issue has to be addressed. People have to look at it beyond the internet space, right? Like I myself, should I have a son? Like it's something that I'm going to take to heart. I was raised by a single mother, so I didn't really have that issue. My mom was very understanding of emotions and all that, so I think I was very fortunate in that way. But I see other people who were raised by their fathers who fucking give them a little crack if they cried or if they expressed some sort of negative emotion. It's like, toughen up, boy. And it's like you can raise a tough, strong man.
Crack, not actual crack. Okay.
No, yeah. Not
like,
not a crack, but a crack.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But it's something that you can still instill strength and a sense of confidence and all that. It's a very deep-seated misunderstanding that you can't raise a strong man while also at the same time nurturing emotions. And I think that's something that has been.
What does strong man mean? What do you mean by strong?
I say
strong men also cry.
No, but that's
exactly
something
that.
I'm asking this because, and I'm genuinely asking this because this is something I hear all the time. We want to men can still be strong, right? But I'm not. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not sure what they mean, right? Because when I think of strong man, when I think of a strong man, I'm thinking more kind of traditional, like they're strong, they're stoic, they're stable, they're responsible, they're determined, right? And the kind of media portrayal of the action hero dad who can be soft with their kids, but then when it comes time to defend their family, brings out the guns and takes on the 20 bad guys, pop, 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 right? So
this is what I'm saying, Wick.
Well-
Strength now no longer means being the center that like warps things around you, being like it's no longer about power. Now strength is like about like outlasting, adapting, living through, taking the lashes. To me, that's a slave mentality form of strength that's been pushed on people. That's what we're living with now. Oh, you need to being a strong man listening to people constantly say men are evil, men are rapists, men are murderers. That's why you deserve to die more. That's why you deserve to be in prisons more. That's what being strong is for a lot of people, is enduring a sort of harassment and not saying like, oh,
is it
just like waving it off? That's what a good
Can I
man
get-
does now.
Harrison? Go
Wait,
ahead.
If I may, to me, what like a masculine form of strength is someone who would prefer to be less afraid as opposed to feel more safe. If you guys understand like the difference there. Does that make sense?
Okay. Sure. So I have a problem. I kind of hate this discussion because people, like, I even heard Joe Rogan say it, where he's like, well, strength is being like if you're strong enough to cry, if you're brave enough to cry, that's noble, right? Like, isn't that true strength? I feel like there's a huge misunderstanding, and it comes from like I've been saying, like, people don't really understand men. People haven't taken the time to understand men. And if you look at men, even though strength is the same word, if you mean it to like I'm physically strong or I'm emotionally strong, I'm strong enough to cry, it's the same word, but it's just semantic. If you look at what men really want, they want to be invulnerable. Like, men want to, like, they fantasize about school shooters coming in and taking out all the school shooters, because then even the school shooters can't get me. You can say whatever you want, like, or there's stoicism, like if your wife leaves you, then you won't cry, you won't feel anything because you're invulnerable to any emotional damage. You can say that, like, oh, feeling the feelings you're having is valid and it shows strength, but like, men don't even want to have those feelings in the first place because that's a vulnerability, and what men really want is invulnerability, and you really can't like
that's
work around
instilled in
that.
them early on. All right.
Yeah,
like
but-
ability, of course.
Yeah,
Nobody
but
wants it, though.
But again, addressing that by saying like, oh, crying is true strength, you're really just not speaking to the way that men feel deep down. And that's one of the issues I have. And that's one of the reasons that I talk about men's rights activism, is because people don't have the language to like, the people don't even have the terminology or the concepts to like deal with the issues that men face.
I think I see where you're touching tips, where you're getting together, and that men are strong through their actions. And so, Tuna Chip, are you saying that the problem with this is that men aren't allowed to respond in the traditionalist sense? They're not allowed to be vulnerable, to show vulnerability?
No, I don't think so at all.
I'll answer the question. Were you asking? Did you use the wrong?
No, I was
target.
I was coming it back to you because you were sort of saying this idea of strength is enduring and being silent. And so, is this a criticism of our society and saying that we're just not allowed to respond?
I mean, we're moving more towards this idea that stoicism is what masculinity is, and a lot of that means endurance. It's all about this sort of like not letting things get to you, having a sort of internal mental strength. It's closer to like a runner's strength, the ability to stay on task and not lose the goal. It's not that I'm necessarily critical of it nearly as much as I'm saying that what we're being asked to do is using language that traditionally refers to something else. So what we're being asked to do, it kind of touches on what you said before. So when we say be strong, what we actually mean is be flexible. Well, strong can be rigid and used to be rigid, and the aesthetics of such are still about rigidity, but we're asking is for you to be more flexible. When people want men to be more caring, what do they want? They don't want them, or more open about their feelings and emotions. They don't want them to cry in front of you and say, when I was 5, the teacher called me a bitch and I've always been insecure about it. Congratulations, you just gave your bitch the ick. No, what people actually want is for you to solve the puzzle of what the word really means without too many hints. And I just don't think men are good at it.
Oh, okay. I guess in that, right, to address what you're saying, Tuna, and I want to get Lactoid in here too because you've been a little quiet, and I know you're sick, but I want to, because I think me and Lactoid probably agree on this. Asking men to be resilient, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think men should be resilient, right? Like to suffer through. That isn't just a masculine quality. I would advise women to learn this trait too. But we have the ability to suffer hardship is a life skill that will come in handy to everyone. So why is it wrong and why is it bad that
It's
is
not
something to be seen as a masculine thing to work for, right?
It's not bad. I mean, I think that everyone should be like reared in a way that helps them take on hardships, right? Like, I mean, I think everyone, aside from myself, like everyone knows someone who's raised by a single mom is a single mom. I think a lot of us are older and whatnot. I mean, taking on hardship doesn't have to be an explicitly masculine thing. And I think they're speaking to another aspect of feminism, right? Is that like women shouldn't be raised to be just, people who need protection, need to be cared for, but people who are raised in a way that they can endure hardship. But at the same time, I think that, again, men should be able to. I just don't think it's mutually exclusive that you need to be either able to endure hardship or able to be vulnerable and in touch with your feelings.
Okay, Alex Schmidt for $5 first of all, $2 from Testicle Johnson to say emotions are dumb and we should hate them. Fair enough. $5 from Alex Schmidt. We have accepted more women in masculine roles in the past couple of decades. Why is it taking longer for men to be accepted in feminine roles? Question mark for all. But I wanted to bring it back to Lactoid because I know you have some strong thoughts on this. What do you think of what Lycan's saying here?
I think mental health is, of course, going to be like any kind of health. Is something that it's just easy to say, yeah, like we want to help this, and because who's going to disagree with it? But I'm skeptical that mental health, in the way I guess the feminists or women, I suppose, handle it or tell us how to handle it is really the best way of handling it, right? Women score worse in mental health across the board than men do. Like overall, women are much more neurotic, and there's also literature that indicates that stoicism, developing an internal locus of control, actually does like benefit mental health. Venting is not good for your mental health. Like unloading emotional baggage on people not only is bad for them, but it's also bad for yourself, right? There is some benefit to keeping your problems to yourself. And now, in the context of a therapist, this obviously is not going to be the case. But I'm always skeptical when people say things like, "Oh, you just got to cry. You just got to express your emotion. You just got to emotionally unload on everyone else around you." I haven't seen any convincing literature to actually prove this is effective, and the people telling me that it's effective have worse mental health on average. So why should I believe them?
Because what you're talking about is emotional regulation, right? That doesn't mean that the idea is you're going to go out there and you're going to just spew every single emotion at every single moment that you want willy-nilly. Like you still, have to act like a mature, rational adult. It's that men often are going to hold it in way more often than they should. So it's about that regulation, a healthy bit of vulnerability versus I don't know if you call the opposite of vulnerability stoicism, but it's, knowing when you can and in the moments that you need to, being able to be vulnerable, especially your friends. Like I'll go back to that probably a lot throughout this conversation until we move off to like the Billie Eilish thing or whatever, is that, it's about being able to go to your friend and be like, hey, just had this, just had a breakup with a girl and here's how I'm feeling, and being able to talk about it. Like the ability to actually talk through your feelings alone, I don't know who's been to therapy and whatnot, but I mean, anytime I've done it, the just being able to talk through it and have someone that you can be open with and rationalize. It's not just about venting and whinging and crying and saying sad things and just having someone hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay. It's about working through things, and you can't really work through shit if you keep it up inside. Like there's only so much that you can process on your own without externalizing it. And I'm saying there's a lot you can do that with, but there are moments that you need to be able to, and I just see it as A lot of men don't feel comfortable doing that, and they need to be able to, especially with other men. I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think throughout my life, it's been always easier to open up to other women. And the reason it's been harder to open up to other men, aside from like my best friend, is because men aren't raised to feel comfortable doing so.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know if anyone else
so-
had a different experience with that.
Yeah.
I have.
I got
A few. Well, we got a lot of people want to talk. So here's where we're gonna go. We're gonna go to 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙. Then we're going to go to Hammer. Then we're gonna go to Carl. And then Tuna if he wants to talk. And then Lawson, I don't know if you want to talk or not. You're just very stoic over there, like yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, I guess it's hard to disagree with some people like need to talk about their feelings and some people need therapy because you're going to find it to be true in some cases. Just overall, the cultural narrative of men need to cry more, men need to like put out their emotional baggage, express yourself, like shaming men who want to work through things themselves. Just by the literature doesn't seem to be productive. And we're being told this by people who have worse mental health outcomes, like by and large, are more neurotic, have higher rates of anxiety and depression. So it's just, I'm not convinced. First of all, I think men should be resilient. I think there is a level of stoicism that's beneficial. And so when it comes to the individual, and having an internal locus control and being strong and those kind of things, I would encourage men to do that, at least based on what I've read and based on just what I've experienced. But before, I don't want to switch the topic too much, but like as when it comes to feminism giving advice or putting certain problems to the forefront, it almost seems to me, again, this is like sort of a issue that, given who it's coming from, I'm skeptical of, and it seems to like be hiding other issues that are never talked about.
Given who it's coming from, what do you mean by that?
Feminists, right? Who here in the panel, besides I said it, we've had 50 years of this movement. Who here in the panel honestly can tell me when I said the stat that the gender disparity in sentencing for the exact same crime is more so than the racial differences in sentencing? Who here can honestly say they knew that, or they've ever seen that on a feminist billboard, or any feminist ever brought it up? But we've heard this the racial shit. We've heard that for decades. But why isn't this being talked about? It's because nobody wants to talk about it, and the feminists don't really want to talk about it because they are a movement of women. Just admit it, right? They only care about alleviating discrepancies when it comes to when women are behind, not when men are behind. That's what it is.
No responses? We just gonna go with that?
I'm waiting in line.
Oh, you don't have to wait in line if that was wrong. If you think that was bullshit, please speak up.
Wait, can I double down?
All right.
Can I even push further on that?
Go ahead.
That feminists feminists have I feel like the feminists telling us that like, oh, we're feminism is resolving your problems, we're helping you, just rely on feminism, is a way to silence men. And I think it can be displayed really well. I wanted to say this before, but Lycan was talking about how, well, this can be resolved because women don't want a man who's less emotionally available. That makes for a bad boyfriend. So feminists are going to push for that. And then that's going to follow and help you with your mental health. And I think it's really funny that when you look from a feminist lens, the first priority that you look at is, what do women want? How can we help women? What is like the best goal for women? Instead of like addressing it like, hey, forget women, let's just address what should we do for men, right? And I think that is displayed. And I think your example can be like, I've seen examples of what you're talking about where women will be like, I don't want a man who's always never talking about his emotional stuff. I don't want a man who's closed off. But the way that shows, because it's women asking for what they want, is what they say is, I want to rock. I want a man who's not emotional. I don't want a man who's not going to cry or break down. I want a man who will support my emotions, who will help me with my emotions, who will talk to me through my emotions, who will support my emotions, but who's strong on his, who I don't need to support.
Well, people aren't offered. Okay, just to put on this, why do they want the rock? Why do they want all of these different features that are basically like, be a perfect partner, be reliable? That's a fantasy of desire that's unattainable, so that's why they want it. They want it because they'll never have it, so they can easily fantasize about having it. The things that they can actually get, that they would be most satisfied with, that they can get, do strike a balance between the two. Women want their men to have a couple of feminine traits inside of them, so that they feel like they're a little secure with that. Oh, I know about his emotions, so I know where I stand. If he's gonna just drop me for another woman, that's not what women want.
This is
They
a
can fantasize.
It all
about
comes back
something.
to neuroticism a
this
little
is
bit.
this
Yeah,
is
sorry,
this
go ahead.
is this is because I think Lycan's right in this, that we don't often talk about what is really bothering us as men, right? We don't, right? For a lot of reasons, especially not in public. Again, for a lot of reasons, some good, some bad. But gang, this is a safe space. So I want you all to be able to talk about what's your biggest, as personally, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, I understand. I'll start, right? My biggest problem, right, as a man, right? The biggest problem I have is not being taken seriously when I get emotional, right? Like, people think I'm making it up, or that I'm not, that I'm acting. Now, some of this is because I am on a stage, right? Like, we are all streamers and things like that. But there is this problem I've had is when I say, hey, I'm struggling, people don't take that seriously in a real way. I say, hey, I'm going through it right now. I'll get the, some people will, I don't want to cast everyone under the same brush, right? I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush. So some people, but for the most part, I don't feel it gets taken seriously. And I think that's a problem that I face. And I think part of it is because I'm a man. I'm absolutely convinced that part of it is because I'm a man, because I'm older, because I'm an adult, right? Like, I am seen as like, well, you should and can take care of your own shit, so we don't need to really help you. What are some of you share? Come on, we're sharing right now, so go ahead.
Well, I have a question. I find as a general rule, this is strictly in like male-female relationships. It's usually kind of an unspoken agreement that you prioritize the female's emotions over your own, generally, not obviously in every case. Like, if your mom just died, but she had a shitty day at work, she's not going to complain about her work, right? But generally, all else kind of equal, it's kind of assumed or an unspoken thing that you prioritize the female's feelings and emotions over your own.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
tell
And
us, Lawson, tell us about a
Yeah.
time that's happened to you. That's what we're doing. We're sharing personal
Oh,
stories.
we're not. I mean, in my last marriage,
Okay.
that happened all the time, and I'm okay with that personally. I'm okay with prioritizing my partner's emotions, so long as it's acknowledged. Acknowledgement is all I really need, and the support when I need to be supported too. But yeah.
Any other sharers? Do we have sharers in the class?
This is gonna come as like a really weird and surprising thing. I've actually had really good relationships with women in my adult life, including like talking about emotions and supporting. So like, I don't really have any good examples of like women shutting me down and being like, "Don't be emotional." I guess one example would be like when I was a kid, like I had,
Okay.
pretty like
okay. Just real quick. What we're doing here, just to kind of clarify, is we're sharing experiences of what we actually have problems with, right? Like currently, now, as a man.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? So tell us a story about that.
Currently
Personally.
now,
Right.
personally, well, does like, if I were to talk about like when I was a kid, I had like, my mom was like pretty like buck up, be a man, don't be emotional or any stuff like that. Like, whenever I would show my emotions, she would get really angry at me. So that was the last time that I remember any kind of interaction like that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I mean, I'll toss something in here, but I just want to say, if this was 6 women, each one would be fighting over the opportunity to talk about the most recent.
That is one of the reasons I've asked this, and one of the reasons I'm demonstrating how hard it is for men to share. But go ahead.
The fact that we're pulling teeth trying is because most of us aren't thinking about it. So it's not that men don't care about one another's feelings and people don't care. It's that men ourselves don't even care about our own problems. So if I'm going to put anything out there, I would say psychologically, a lot of dudes are just fucking cucked about this shit. They're not paying attention to it. You disagree, like it? Or not like it?
No.
Yeah. No, I think the reason why is because we're not obsessing about it. Here's the bother. Here's what bothers me. I almost think it bothers me a little bit when there's such a push for men to like be emotional or to express your emotion, because I think this is part of a broader tactic to emphasize emotion over logic when it comes to these kind of discussions. Because to be honest with you, like how someone's feeling is more or less not that relevant to the actual, like to most problems or most discussions, right? The question is, okay, how can we fix the problem? How can we move from point A to point B? And this is also a gender difference, typically, when it comes to handling problems, which is that men tend to adopt, we're more likely to adopt a sort of, okay, we have a problem, how do we fix it? While women tend to be more along the lines of, we have this problem, and I want to explain my problem, and I want to feel heard about that problem. But that tactic is not that effective when it comes to actually resolving problems. So no, I think this is a strength, not a weakness.
A problem is not often about a problem. A problem is about having a turn to be listened to in a center of attention for a little bit in order to like have it proven to you that you're valuable inside of your social milieu. I don't think men desire that as much. We're like more competitive. We want to feel like we earn our place inside of our social milieu as opposed to like are given to it by
200 bits. 200 bits
thing.
from 𝕍𝖎. True high EQ, which is not a scientific term, is a dog whistle for I'm a do what I want and you have to deal with it. And this plays into the lactoids point a little bit.
All right. Are we still sharing?
If you want, go ahead.
So I'll share. I'm really considering how much I can share. I am, of course, going through a divorce. The only benefit to me is that I can talk to all lengths about custody because I'm done with that part. But what this speaks to, in sort of my case especially, is that men are having trouble transitioning to a supportive role. And so if I don't think society is ready for even men to be 50-50 in a relationship. We do face judgment when we're earning less or when we're even on par. And we do what we can to negotiate how to split up that relationship 50-50. But it doesn't always work. And even if you try, or even if you try to be more supportive, you are one injury or illness away from being back in the gutter. That's so, the little that I can say about my own case. For example, I was advised by someone that the court isn't going to buy my story about the state of the job market or, the things that I've suffered, indicating how I should be supported. So I guess it's my fault for getting divorced in a no-fault state.
I mean, that's
It's
fair,
pretty
right?
fucked up.
Yeah,
sorry to hear that,
fucked
man.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's who here hasn't, right? Oh, well, maybe some of you have never been the stay-at-home dad or the stay-at-home husband or things like that, or the stay-at-home partner. You get judged for it a lot.
Yep.
I remember when I was in my 20s.
For several years.
Yeah, I remember when I was in my 20s, okay, I was in a situation where my partner was making a lot more than me, right? And it didn't make sense for me to be the breadwinner in that. Like, they were just, they had property and money, and I didn't. And I remember getting all sorts of shit for that. Like I was less of a man because I wasn't stepping up to the plate, and I should be the one, right? And it caused problems within my relationship too, because again, the partner was like, "Well, you really should be transitioning to be the one that's supporting me, right?" And things like that. And yeah, it's a lot, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I don't think I'm the only person with that kind of story. I think that in any relationship, even today, men are going to be looked down on if they take a more sort of supportive role by society as a whole. Does anyone disagree?
I think it's getting
No.
better as far as I think more men are able to be, like a stay-at-home dad or not the primary breadwinner. I think it's getting better. Do I think it's in any significant way accepted? No, but the tide is absolutely changing.
I think we need to have a standard form prenup for professional men. If you ever get a job and then are in a relationship for over 5 years, you need to have some kind of a explicit agreement because the courts aren't going to be your friend.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
Absolutely.
This is a good chance to transition to some systemic issues, right? When it comes to what the problems men have in society systemically, what do we think those ones are, right? We talked a little bit. We had a super chat earlier about the education system, right? men are underwater when it comes to getting degrees, going to college. They're getting, not only are they getting accepted to college less, they're graduating less. They're wanting to go to college in the first place less. This is on a downward trajectory, a pretty severe one, and it has been for the last 10 years or so, right? Maybe 5. I'd have to look at the exact stats again. We have the court system, right? Again, there's plenty of evidence out there that when it comes to things like custody, when it comes to things like that, men do have some slight advantage. We talked about the prison system, right? There's a big disparity when it comes to who gets harsher sentences for the same crime. What are some other systemic issues that maybe we haven't talked about that men have faced, if any? What do you think?
I got a one that's really going to tickle you. Women graduate from STEM at an abhorrently low 16%. But women are 24% of the employed. And you can take this a number of different ways. You could say, okay, well, the women who survive this incredibly toxic environment of the STEM education field are just going to be more badass. And maybe that's true. But this is a interesting systemic observation that despite being an incredible minority of people graduating with STEM degrees, women are supported in the workforce. On the other hand, we have women reaching almost basic parity in MBA degrees. In Masters of Business Administration, there are a lot of women graduating with those degrees. They're going into leadership, but they are still behind in terms of income. And maybe these two stats kind of indicate that employers, this is sort of a libertarian argument, but employers are literally excited to pay women less for the same job.
Well, I have a question, because this is going to depend a lot on how people answer this. Does anyone here disagree that men and women kind of, on some levels, fundamentally will gravitate toward different fields?
I don't disagree.
It's the bell curve. I mean, you can't say that men and women are categorically different because of a slight preference per population in one direction or the other.
There's more than one thing at play in men and women making those decisions differently. Some people would say that there are male fields and female fields because there are a lot of women in them and it's like a critical mass thing. But I think it's more so that there are some jobs that do actually privilege you being male or female, like being a bartender privileges female in a lot of different situations. Manual labor is going to privilege more males than females. Like there are things that cluster naturally like that, where it's just like, you're going to make more money, you're going to last longer. But then there are other ones where it's just like women are willing to make certain choices in life and not other choices. And men seem to be ready to make a lot of like choices that sacrifice their body, but not ones that sacrifice their dignity. I know, like my dad, when he fucking stopped being a HVAC, he fucking got a DUI. He can't do his trade properly anymore. He refused to work under a boss because that was like a shame thing for him. If he can't get over that, he's not going to be able to get that. Most women don't bring that type of ego into the job, so there are certain jobs that they cluster towards that men avoid. Stuff like that tends to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just have to say this real quick, just so we're clear. I'm not sure how relevant it is, but like the wage gap, when people talk about how like getting paid for the same job, that's just complete bullshit, right? Like how they come up with that number is they took the total collective incomes of all men in the country and compared it to the total collective like incomes of all women in the country, leaving out the careers and leaving out the fact that women work less and take more time off on average.
You're right in that. You're right in that the 30.
No,
he's right.
No, this is 100%
he's right.
true.
He's right in that the 32% wage gap is incorrect. But there's still an 8% wage gap when they correct for field and time off and all of that. So there still is a number gap. Is it as significant as 30%? Absolutely not. Is it still something that should probably be looked at 8%? Yeah.
So I've seen 3 to 8%. I mean, it could be as high as 8%. But I want to be clear, it's unexplained, not necessarily sexism, right? It's because there could be other mediating factors we don't necessarily know. I've seen some estimates put it as low as 3%.
is agency a part of sexism, or is it cultural, or is it agency? And this is the same question you can apply to, to family court outcomes as well as to wages.
Well, if we're talking lean in and shit, it's like
Right.
the system should be regulated. Even for fucking men, the system should be in a way where people don't have to beg for their raises. They don't have to go in and try to find the situation where it's like, okay, well, only the most confident people get the raise. It's like, no, fuck that, because you have plenty of, especially in IT, you have plenty of unconfident people who aren't willing to go put themselves out there and ask for a raise or a promotion that are absolutely deserving, right? But very often, and I say this, having worked in a lot of Fortune 500 companies, there are a lot of companies that just aren't going to, as long as you're doing your good job and all that stuff, unless they need you to promote to like architect or senior developer or something like that so they can bill you higher, they're not going to do it. It becomes a matter of you. So, I mean, that's a systemic issue for men and women at that point.
Well, wait, why do you think that, or why do you think that they deserve the money if they're not willing to advocate for themselves?
If you can do the job, you deserve the money. It's not a matter of advocating for yourself.
Should you deserve more money than other people just by being better at the job?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then you would be looking at something that is like closer to a meritocratic system. And while I'd like to see objective metrics, some fields have that. Some fields just straight up don't have that. Like there are many jobs where what the job is, it's not being tracked.
Can you give us an example of that, please?
Yeah, so if you're in sales, it's very obvious. You can just like look at the numbers. How well are you doing? But then if you're doing a job like a nurse, or if you're doing a job that doesn't have objective metrics, but instead has like report-based metrics of success, you can't like create the pay differential there.
And in a lot of those cases, when you're not talking about sales, where again, sales is like almost like sales and cooking are like the true meritocracies. You either can fucking make the omelet or you can't. You can either sell the product or you can't. But for everything else, you have so many other factors. You have shitty people managers, people that aren't encouraging you, people that aren't telling you to go for the panel to take the promotion, people that aren't properly reporting what you're doing, people that are in people manager positions because the company structure is so fucked that your people manager actually may have an incentive to not fucking promote you or encourage you to go seek promotion. And especially when you're dealing with like junior level people from, age 22 to 27 who are still pretty new into the industry. There are so many ways for people to get fucked in these situations. So while it is good, and for me, and I say this personally as someone who has always been one completely fucking willing to be like, hey, I want a promotion, I want a raise, I want to go forward. I've seen plenty of people to get left by the wayside who are fucking way superior to their peers when it comes to coding, when it comes to DevOps, when it comes to engineering hardware. I've seen these people get left by the wayside, and they're doing stellar fucking work at the level of, senior associate or some shit like that. And the system needs to be able to account for that. Managers shouldn't be able to be to let good talent go like that without.
I'm missing something though. The job's goal is to make as much money for the lowest price possible. Why should they fight for good people that are willing to work for less money? Why should they start just paying them more? Like, the whole point is that if you want to be paid more and you're not willing to do the sort of like stop being a beggar, start being a chooser thing of shopping around or advocating for yourself, well, congratulations. That's your fault. That's
if you're paying based on whether or not someone asked for it and not having some sort of like standardized system. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a socialist by any fucking means. I'm a huge capitalist, and at the end of the day, I think that the market value is fair. But all these companies have pay bands, and all these companies could promote within that pay band and get people up higher and more, let there be more equilibrium, and not suffer whatsoever, right? So your pay band as a senior manager at one company might be $145 to $175, right? That's $30,000 for variability, whether it comes to seniority, whether it comes to years of experience in the industry versus at the company, whether it comes to performance, right? But the idea that if you see the disparity between genders, for instance, because that's where we got to this point, and you see that it's 8%, well, you know what? It's important to look into that and say, is this because they're not asking for it, because they're not coming up for a promotion? When I worked for 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙, every year it was 3 to 5% was your pay raise, and it would just be based on your rating system. You were going to get that year over year, depending on what you your what do you call it, your performance review, right? That was a pretty good system. But if you're coming in and your starting salaries are so disparate between either genders or even any junior associate that's coming in at the same level of education and experience, I think there's an issue there, and I think there should be some semblance of trust and faith between employer and employee, where they're not fucking you in the order of magnitude of tens of thousands of dollars. If it's a disparity of a few thousand here and there, I don't give a shit. The negotiations and all that, talent's competing, 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙's competing with SAIC, SAIC is competing with Leidos, whatever. I don't really care about that. But when it's significantly more, when we're talking about $10,000 to $20,000, depending on who is willing to ask the right questions, when there's equality across every other field, yeah, I think it's on the employers to kind of like tighten things up.
Okay, 100 bits from 𝕍𝖎𝖎 before we respond to that. Why are we talking about promotions? How is this related to men's issues? I will say that the disparity talk is somewhat related, right, to identify the problem. But I do want to kind of drag it back a little bit away from men versus women and talk a little bit about the ways men get in their own way, right? Can we do that for a little bit?
Can I respond?
What do you mean?
Yeah, you can respond to that.
I want to respond, and then we can
respond to
I'd love to go to
like,
that
and then
topic.
I'll elaborate a little bit.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, and I like the idea, but that money isn't there. That excess money that's above the minimum of the band, it's not there to pay people based on what they deserve. That all of that money that could go to them stays inside of a pool, and it's there held onto to retain the people that threaten to leave if you don't give them more money. When somebody works more for less money, they don't complain and they don't leave. They give no incentive, and there's no reason to pay them more. Just let them work for what the lowest they're willing to pay, and they'll stay for, and hold on to that money for when they say, hey, boss, I can't really stay with this company. And you're like, you know what? I'll move you from the 135 to the 140. And suddenly, for $5,000 a year, you retained somebody. Later down the week, you got a same guy, worse at the job, but you still need to have good people there. He says, and he's already at 155. He's saying, sorry, boss, I got to leave if I can't get at least 160. You give him $5,000 there too. The money is about paying employees and retaining employees. It's not about like making the world a better place.
You got to be at least a little bit prescriptive.
I really want to move off the promotion.
So let me trade.
Pay. I really do.
Tuna has a great made-up anecdote, and I have a real anecdote from someone after I rolled this out to my Friendsgiving. Someone told me of one of their colleagues one of their reports, who was underpaid by 67%. Like, they literally got them a 200% pay increase after they found out that she didn't get a cost of living adjustment. She didn't get like a rebalancing or anything. And so, yeah, that 2-3%, that's bullshit. It's not going to go anywhere. And then this whole anecdote, we're talking one of the biggest companies in America. You got to have a re-leveling occasionally. And we need more transparency and more awareness of each other's wages. This is, sorry to say it, this is the socialist point.
Because this isn't really a men-women issue, it's a transparency.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It should be a socialism versus capitalism issue.
It's a different conversation than it's a good conversation to have, but a different one than I want to talk about today. $5 from Bass FZZ to say, why didn't you invite me on? Sorry, I can't invite everyone on, but thank you for the $5. We will probably have call-ins after this, but back to the topic at hand. I wanted to kind of get to talk about how men get in their own way. In what ways do you think that men or other men hold themselves back or hold each other back? or is it not a men problem at all? Do we not have a problem where we get in our own way, or is it all external? What do we think about this?
Wait, what do you mean? What are you talking about by getting in our own way?
Sure.
Could you give an example?
Self-obstacle.
Male feminists, they get in our
Yeah.
way.
True. Absolutely.
That's how you want to
Well,
go with
Hammer
it.
gave an example earlier about was it your dad? I think that didn't want to work underneath somebody anymore.
That was mine.
That was
That
Tuna.
that was him.
Tuna. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a perfect example. I feel it's Tuna's dad felt it a shameful thing to have an employee or employer, I should say, that he had risen through the ranks, and so that kind of unwilling to sacrifice their pride. Tuna also mentioned that men in general aren't willing to sacrifice their dignity. Do we think that's true, first of all? And what other
Yes.
ways do men become their own obstacles?
Men kill each other too. That's a big problem.
Yep.
True. In terms of like work, like I don't
It doesn't
like.
have to
I
be
think
work,
Tuna's
just any
sure. I
any
think
aspect. Yeah.
Well, I've said this on this, not on this panel, but like I've said this on this show before that one of the biggest things that men need is solidarity. Like men need to support each other more, and men don't support each other. Like I think unironically, what _𝕾𝖍𝖙 said, but not just male feminists. I think men will just sell each other down the river for women, or they don't care about each other, or they like you can talk to the red pill, and if you were to ask them, they'd be like, no. Other men are our brothers. We stand up for other men. We're a brotherhood. But that's all bullshit, because anytime a man is not the most like masculine, having sex with the most women, 𝕾𝖍𝖎, they're a fucking loser beta, and we need to like trash on them and like not even associate with them.
I mean, the incel thing is all about being a failed man, and women jump on that shit too. Where it's just like it's the fact that you're complaining about a problem as opposed to solving it, which, hey, I think, it'd probably be better if people solved it. But most of the time, the solutions that they're being offered are like either fix the way that you look, which is considered the cruel thing, or fix the way that your personality is, which somehow is considered more possible and less cruel to say, or it's just like, oh, you're just too much of an ugly spurg. Well, congratulations. You're too much of an ugly spurg, and you're a complaining whiny bitch too. Like it's the rhetoric doesn't help.
We're specifically talking about single men, I think, in this case, aren't we?
Yeah, that's for single men.
Yeah,
some men that are in relationships that are super insecure and constantly think that their girlfriend is cheating, or they have maybe some other kind of issues where it's like, I can't talk with my girlfriend and vie for my own interests in the house because I'm whipped, as we would call it, or mostly just he's got some kind of issue where he's scared that if he raises his voice that he'll be less
Tuna,
stable.
Here's the thing though. The women in my chat, they're saying you're full of shit.
The women in the chat?
Yeah, the women in
one
chat,
of them?
they're saying that
Two.
incels get shit.
Nice.
Incels get shit because of the way they treat women. That if they didn't treat women as bad as they did, that incels wouldn't get the shit they do. What do we think of that?
Well, there's a block button inside of their DMs, and women don't use it because they like attention, even when it's negative, because it affirms a sort of importance of self. So if you're worried about how incels treat you, you can just oust them from your life. Lots of people instead feed off the attention. They allow these people to create these, like, you could call a parasocial relationship develops with influencers. It also happens with girls. A lot of girls that get stalked, I think it's terrible that it's happening to you. But when you're saying that you have this guy that's obsessed with you, not a real stalker, but just like a guy who can't stop like sending you like, hello, baby girl, today is today the day for boobs and vagine, you have a button that just erases them from the internet. But self-control, taking responsibility for such things, God forbid.
I feel like the attacking of incels, or like the like, it was like a huge media trend at one point of like shitting on incels. Like, yeah, if you're talking about a guy who literally goes on incel forums and hates women because he deserves sex, that's probably valid, but that's not who it always targets. It always affects like basically any man who has any struggle dating. Like, people, like when you say like when you're like, hey, incels, if you're not getting any women, then maybe your personality is shit. Well, what about any other guy who's having trouble dating? Is their personality shit? Are they automatically a misogynist?
To be fair, I feel like a lot of the incel culture is a lot of frustration and entitlement of like we deserve the pussy, and they can't get pussy. It's like 95% of what I've seen on the internet. Are there some people who have issues dating? Yeah, but I wouldn't call them part of like incel culture, right? Actual incel culture, like the kind of people we see that are like obsessing about getting the poon and they can't, and they're like fucking pissed off about it, and they hate the men that do get it. I mean, there's sort of like I think I've talked about this before, like it's kind of like sexual communism, right? This belief of like I can't convince people to give me what I want. Yeah, I can't convince people to give me what I want, so I'm going to bitch the people who are getting it and bitch the people who have it because this is fucking unfair. I think that's perfectly fine to denigrate. Not necessarily. I think it's less of a gender dynamic, more of just like a pathetic thing.
Men should be okay with sex robots. There we go.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is that, I mean, sure, I agree that like literal actual incels are worthy of criticism, but the vast majority of guys who can't get laid are not incels. They're not the platonic ideal of an incel. And again, all these criticisms, and literally in some examples where there are guys who are like, you know, I have problems with women. Oh, you're an incel. You're just an incel. When they're really not. And again, it falls upon any guy who has any problems, any insecurities about not being able to have women.
I mean,
don't make it a problem.
Obviously, the
That's
incels
easy.
have like a resentment cult. There's a personality. It's very similar to the way that women talk about their boyfriends, their ex-boyfriends. It's like, but there's something about it where it happens in the shadows, where it gets festered and rotten in this way, where you're sharing videos of your ex and you're giving out her address and saying someone should rape her. Like, there's something in the privacy that like extreme.
Where do we go? Where did this?
Are you blind? I know that I care more about the topic, but like with the incels, it's radicalization of something that is a normal feature outside, but it happens in this private place where they're encouraging each other to get more and more resentful, believe more and more clownish things. Are all men that struggle with dating incels? Obviously not. Some of them don't even have any resentment about it at all. The point, though, is that they don't talk about it all the time. Well, that's a point.
To Duna's point here, we as a society, at least in Western society, we celebrate strong, independent women. I don't need no man, and they get they're posted like, oh, look at this strong, independent woman. She's making it on her own. She's broken with the patriarchy. She is great. She's doing it all by herself, etc. We don't celebrate men doing that kind of thing at all. And in fact, we look at them as all sorts of things, right? A man who, again, eschews women and simply goes their own way, so to speak, and is successful and preaches that kind of thing is seen in a lot of ways by society as dangerous. And 𝕍𝖏, thank you for the bits. The bounty has changed from Soyaddle to Tuna Chip for derailing the combo. Okay, you now have a bounty on your head. Fair enough. But what do we think of that? Like, let's get to the Billie Eilish thing too. Let's rope that in here too.
What is this?
Are you not familiar with what Billie Eilish said?
I don't know who Billie Eilish is.
Zero. I know she is.
What now?
Because of Black Country No Road, she got Billie Eilish style. Let's hear it.
Okay, so Billie Eilish recently made a tweet that did the rounds, saying that women's bodies are shamed in a way men's are not, and men's bodies don't get shamed because women are too nice. Women don't.
Do you want to talk about erectile dysfunction?
Yeah.
I mean, that no man will be able to like not wither that criticism someday. Like, you're gonna be there.
That's the male wall.
I won't.
You're under 40, aren't you?
But let's talk about the different, like, I guess what I'm getting at,
saves
to be
people
more
from that
specific,
issue.
to be a little more clear, I would argue that there is a severe disparity in how women are viewed and treated, and this goes for pros and cons. There's pros and cons to this, but there's a severe disparity between how women are treated culturally by the public and how men are. And I think that we would like to think, and some people would like to think, that women just get the short end of the stick on all these issues. I don't think that's true. I think it's just that women are able to speak about their problems with how they're treated in a way that men, if they do, are shamed for doing, right? Obviously, I'm being general here. There are obviously specific examples. But it is not okay to call a woman fat in the same way it is to call a man fat. That's one.
Right,
So
and
what?
there's a reason for that though, because it's just going to differ based on what people value in a sexual partner, right? So yeah, men aren't going to have their body, like some parts of their bodies. I mean, penis is for sure shamed because that's important to women, but other parts maybe not as like culturally valued, but your income will be, right? So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that men tend to value like attractiveness and youth more, and women tend to value other things more, like income. And so yeah, there's going to be different types of criticism. I don't see. I mean, but Billie Eilish might be correct partially in that, like, yeah, a women's like physique is generally more important to her success compared to a man, right? But I think a man has other things that he's judged upon.
That are uncontrollable.
Sure.
Hair, ED, height,
Yes.
all sorts of stuff.
I think
height is a big one. Height is a big one. I'm 6'2", so I'm just, I'm as a fellow tall Chad here. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, like short dudes. I mean, they get laughed at, and I hear how women talk about short men whenever they talk. Like when I'm there, like, oh, he's a tall guy. He's not going to care.
I think I'd rather have ED than be like 5'5", honestly, because I could take a Cialis. I can't.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I have a perfect example. Like, I think the most ironic counterexample to what Billie Eilish is saying is that I know this was years ago. I think she was like 18, but like she went on an interview and she was talking about she was like, ugh, ugly men are so disgusting. Like, I can't believe they act so arrogant. Ugly men really need to know their place. I mean, if you're a hot guy, you can get away with some stuff, but if you're an ugly guy, then you're like not even worth my time. And again, to say that like women don't ever shame men for their appearance is ironic when she's the one who first said that. And secondly, to like the point that everyone's talking about, and I think this is like one of the negative downstream effects of feminism being the only gender movement, is that when it comes to like issues of insecurity of appearance, people automatically think that's an issue that women face. That's a women's issue, so therefore men are fair game. You can say whatever you want. Billie Eilish is a huge like public media figure, and she got backlash. She did apologize, but it's not like it didn't destroy her career. It didn't really follow her. Nobody really talked about it like that much. People just kind of forgot about it, and she feels, clearly she feels like she can say whatever she wants about men still to this day.
I want to. So real quick, Hammer, do you think this is like a problem? Because I'm almost on the fence of like, I don't even know if this is a problem. Like, men preferring skinny women is just people acting within their preferences. Women preferring rich men is just women acting within their preferences. To me, honestly, a lot of these movements just feel like people who are excluded from having traits that people value are just like upset. It's almost kind of like incelish, right? Like, oh, we're upset. We want you to value us too. It's like, well, but you have this thing that we don't value.
$10.
So, like,
$10 from Erica Chenault. Top streamers on Google are white men. Congress is predominantly white men. Our Supreme Court is a majority white men. In no way are white men under attack.
Rainbow capitalism. That's
Why?
What that is.
Wait.
Why are men in all those positions? Is because men find themselves in their individual accomplishments and pursuits far more because they are not accepted by default. They have to work to get into the Congress to feel like their life is worth anything. They have to become the top streamers. They grind for a sense of purpose, whereas women are just loved. They find their purpose after love, which women want purpose, but they find it after love. So they're willing to have it be on the back burner. Men will... How many civil servants are sexless, fat, freak men? No fucking surprise why. They have nothing else to do in their life other than pursue a purpose.
I don't know
Also,
about you,
real
but I
quick,
mean, when I see
women-
civil servants, they always have a wedding
ring.
ring on.
In households, women make most of the financial spending decisions, like 82% of them or something. So like women are spending the money, men are making the money.
What are they
True.
spending the money on?
I don't know.
Who cares?
Probably
But,
things
okay.
that have to do with the household. They're probably
okay,
running the household and they're dictating,
mean,
like, hey, we need this for the house, this for the kitchen, we need laundry detergent, we need shoes for the kids.
Wait, really quick.
Well, and not just shoes for the kids. Okay, I'm just saying.
I don't think that Lactoid's even necessarily complaining nearly as much as he's trying to negate this rhetorical idea that men make all the choices that dictate the world. Men do a lot of the labor. Men do a lot of the high functioning stuff. I will say there's a huge problem that the jobs that we have require that you sacrifice a home life. So it actually, it promotes corrupt men going into high positions as opposed to people that have families, have things that humanize them.
Why do Apple, Microsoft, and a few other Fortune 500 companies that I'm aware of offer egg freezing?
Equality. It's
the reason
it is breaking down.
The reason is because women are also working as hard as things are changing. Women are also sacrificing their lives in order to work and progress.
Actually, it's because again, biologically, men can have kids at an older age.
No, but they also offer sperm freezing. So the point is that they offer it because these women are sacrificing their 20s and their early to mid 30s in order to progress as far as they can in their career.
Okay, can I make a real quick point?
It's not a good thing.
You can, but $2 from Testicle Johnson. Please go around, everyone. Tell us your height. I am 5'8".
My girlfriend's 5'8".
5'10".
5'9", baby.
6'0".
National average.
I already said I'm 6'3".
I'm 6'1".
I'm 6'2".
Okay, there we go.
Okay, I want to. Yeah, I wanted to say this before, but like that super chat before. Notice how we were talking about men's issues, how men feel like they don't want to be attacked for their appearance, and someone came in and donated, throwing out a random feminist talking point so that, to get, because they were angry that we were addressing these issues. What does white men being in Congress have to do with men feeling insecure about erectile dysfunction? Again, why do feminists feel the need to shut down men talking about issues that they face? I also want to address something that Lactoid said. He said, this is just my take. You're saying that like a lot of these, like the fat acceptance movement, like how they are obsessed with like
or short men or anything like that.
Or like these movements are obsessed with like, I feel bad. I don't like being this. I don't like feeling bad. Desire me because I want, because I don't want to feel bad about this. I think that's a lot of that is really stupid, and they're like, they don't know how to address these issues. The only valid criticism is you shouldn't go after someone, target them, and be like, you're a fat loser. All right, lose some weight. Like anything like that, and that's the kind of thing that I have criticism.
Some data that I've just been linked. This was it's a study that was published this month on November 8th. Okay, it was by a man by I'm not going to read those names. I can't. I'll pronounce them badly. But the study was on physical attractiveness and intergenerational social mobility, and the results that we find that physical attractiveness matters both for males and females, intergenerational social mobility outcomes. But it is more important for males, even when childhood characteristics such as various aspects of parental socioeconomic positions, proxy for IQ, individuals' health, neighborhood conditions, and interviewers' fixed effects are accounted for. So the data that we have, at least in this study, assuming it's correct, and I'll put it in the group chat here, is that even when it comes to looks, it's more important for men and their success than it is for women. I just want to throw that out.
I didn't know
surprising.
that. I'm very surprised.
The success delta between the top man and the lowest man is way wider than the top woman and the lowest woman. When you account for the amount of people at the top, because there are some very, very rich women outliers. Right. But I think one of the things that's untended to is that men like when other men are more attractive. Men trust more attractive men. When I see an ugly dude, I think, look at that sniveling little coward. I know he's up to something. I see a more handsome man. I'm like, what does this guy know about life?
Do you trust me, Tuna?
I was going to say, I don't think this way. I don't know if anybody else doesn't think this way.
No. Okay, I'm not talking about like huge. Okay, most of the things that I'm talking about, I'm being a little jovial, but like health. Like, when someone has clear skin and
Okay.
good bone structure and muscles, and they stand up straight, all the things that are attractive that we talk about as men a lot of the time, overemphasizing even, a lot of these things, it's what makes us like people. Trust them. They're healthy. They're living a good life. We care about what type of life they have. If we look at like a person who's like in their mother's basement and looks like it, we don't care about their opinion. We think they're a loser.
Can I be a bit of a feminist right now?
Do it, baby.
There's some things that I'm not necessarily pro women or pro men in all cases. I think that feminism has some valid purpose. I think that if you were to reason out why attractiveness leads to success in men more than it does for women, it's probably because if you look at it, if you're a super attractive man, what do people encourage you to do? You're really confident, you're kind of become a leader. You kind of like people follow you, people trust you, like, you get higher, whatever, like higher positions and stuff. If you're an attractive woman, like, what do people tell you? Like, maybe not always, but it's like, you're going to find a good husband. You're going to be a great wife, stuff like that. Or, this is maybe a minority, but maybe you should be like an OnlyFans. Maybe you should be a model or something. Maybe you should use your beauty to get ahead in life instead of your intelligence.
They make a lot of money, though. They make a fuck ton of money.
Do you know how many times I get told to start an OnlyFans? It's weird how much that happens, but I don't think that's a gender thing. I mean, like, I think it's just.
You don't think that's a gender thing?
Well, no, that's.
You don't think
you're right. You're right. It misspoke. I will withdraw that. I think that's more of a. I don't think that's a looks thing. Let's say that.
It's a power move.
I
just
think
like in work, when a man tells a woman, she doesn't deserve to be here because she looks too good. It's a power move. It is, and chatters do it to you all the time, Wick. That's why we love you.
I almost feel like that's a lawsuit, though. So maybe that's like a mitigating.
It is. It should be.
This could be like a mitigating factor, where like part of the reason is companies might not want to hire a super attractive woman because if you do, then this is going to like invite comments, and then you got sued, and then you're fucked. Yeah.
You took it the wrong way, because I think that ideally we should be more egalitarian about looks, especially with men and success and perception of success. So.
Well,
I don't know what the solution for men is, though.
It's fine that hot people are just relegated towards being sexy objects that people pay to be around. That's just normal. That's how it's always been. It's how it's going to continue to be. So, like, this idea that we need to have more hot women at the workplace. Oh, the poor hot women not making money. Just let them be the trophy wife of somebody. It's a better life in many ways. If we were able to trophy husband some people. Like, if I was slinging dick the way that someone that doesn't need a bed frame does, I would gladly get fired for being too sexy. Oh, you're too handsome to work here. Okay, you're right. Let me start an OnlyFans, and then I'll just live off the fruits of my cock, bro. It's it's an easier fucking life. No, what I'm saying is,
you need to try it. You should try it.
No, I'm not sexy enough.
No, Tuna's right, and attractive men also get shorter sentences. So it could be the fact that uglier people are making less because they're incarcerated for longer periods of time.
True.
Is this a fixable problem?
It's true.
If I'm a
like we talked a little bit about this. We talked a little bit about the halo effect. We talked a little bit about just people that are more attractive or just more successful, etc. Is this something that we can even fix, though? Right? I mean, like, this isn't even a men's issue. It's not a gendered issue. This I think is both for men.
Sounds like a maturity issue to me.
What do you mean?
It's prefixed.
What do you mean by that?
So, like, what? Someone said, like, if you're in a like work environment, like I was doing fish processing in Alaska, and there were a couple like hot chicks there, but saying like you're too hot to be doing this job, that never even crossed my mind. And I don't know. I'm just thinking of the type of person who would utter that statement.
STEM lord.
And it feels like, yeah, it feels like a very immature person. So maybe, I don't know.
I wouldn't.
And you send me that study, Wick?
I put it in the group chat.
Oh, okay.
I would say, at least in the thing that I'm talking about, where women are encouraged to like just basically do things that result from them being attractive over like, pursuing careers. I don't think it's literally you're in the workplace, a guy walks up to you, you're too pretty to be working here, go model yourself on Instagram. I don't think that's happening. I think it's growing up. Like, I think girls are probably, I think girls are reward.
Yeah.
I think girls, when they're young in school, growing up, when they're rewarded for just being pretty, like flirting or just being cute, like being silent, things that like people find attractive. They're rewarded for that, and if they try to like switch to a more male attitude, being assertive, being intelligent, being like aggressive, things that would get you probably ahead in life, those kind of behaviors are probably socially not punished but discouraged from doing.
So I have a question. If let's say you have a very attractive barista, right? And would saying to her, "Hey, you could totally be a model," or whatever, you could capitalize on your looks more. And then there's another person who's a barista who can do complex geometry in their mind and saying, "Wow, you should totally be an engineer, or you could be a great engineer." Are these two? Is there a difference between these two?
Yes, and let me tell you what it is. One, you can look at them and see. You don't have to speak to them. You don't have to interact with them in any way. Like, oh, man, that's an easy thing. The person who can do complex geometry in their mind, you have to spend a lot of time with and get to know. It's just not going to come out in that interaction, right? There's a reason we value looks as a species and as a society. It's because it's readily, easily apparent. You can just look at them, right? And literally just look at them, and you can tell. You don't have to interact or spend any time with them. I think that's a major difference there. But I want to bring it back because we've gone off into this weird world where we're suddenly talking about women again. I want to bring it back to men, if we can. And I want to talk about, like, there is an issue that men have, is that, as we saw with the super chat earlier, any time that I've had to tried to have a discussion on men, it does turn into a contest. And I'm curious what you guys think of how to prevent that from happening, right? Because we've done it too, and we want to compare and contrast, right? And there is some value to that. But why is it so hard to talk about men's issues without it becoming this contest?
I'm not convinced you can talk about men's issues or women's issues without talking about the other sex. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, no, this is 100% true, right? Like the main talking points of feminist movements tend to be things like the wage gap, the comparison of earnings, things like sexual assault, what men do, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's always going to be in relation to men because it's as a gendered discussion. The question is one of parity, right? Is there equality here between genders? And if there is, then there's presumably no problem. But then if there is not equality, right, you obviously have to compare and contrast.
I think that some of these are sort of zero sum. Like we talk about employment, education, compensation. Those are definitely zero sum issues, and so yeah, it's unavoidable. There are others where it really isn't. And when we're talking about prevalence of sexual assault and cultural things, and especially regarding sex, I think it is fair to sort of talk about men in isolation and talk about men's behavior without necessarily getting into feminism or what it means to be sexually liberated and what was she wearing. It's you don't need to talk about it.
I think that, I mean, necessarily, if you're talking about, like, for example, we were talking about men's sentencing, right? Like, if men's sentencing is like it's disproportionate. Well, what is it disproportionate in terms of? Men are like dropping out of college early. Well, what are they dropping out of college early in regards to? So obviously you're going to have to talk about women at some point. But like, I think the issue comes in where, like, the point that I made earlier with that super chat is, it's like an overall competition. It's like, well, we can't address any of the men's issues because according to our metrics, men are winning overall. There are more men in Congress. Obviously, men have it better. So why would we ever talk about any men's issues? There should be no addressing of any of these issues at all. And again, like that kind of like comparison is just used to like shut down men who they're just used to shut down men.
This is
It's also
from... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, you'll point to like a subsect of highly successful men, and then like I think Jordan Peterson makes this point all the time, right? Like, yeah, when you look at Congress, when you look at like specific industries, yeah, you see like men be a very small subsect of hyper successful, have the tremendous amount of determination and work ethic, who've given up a tremendous amount of things in order to get to where they are. This experience in life doesn't speak for most men, right? You can just as easily point to Congress being mostly men as you can point to homeless people being mostly men. Why is that the
Yes.
case?
Exactly. It's that incredible delta that I talked about before. Men are allowed to fail and they're allowed to succeed way more than women are. And I think it's partially socially mediated, and it's also probably just about how complicated being a woman. We never address in these fucking contests between being a man and being a woman how much easier the male body is to exist in than the female body. It's like a fucking jungle inside of there. A lot of the fucking understanding of self and the transformations that happen, you're not able to get a direct relationship to. But anyway, why is it always a contest? It's a contest because men and women are defined in relationship to the other's desire. Men define themselves around trying to get what they want, not just from women, from all of the world, but definitely including women. So whenever you're talking about male interests, you're necessarily talking about women. Whenever you talk about female interests, you're necessarily talking about men, because where are the interests coming from?
Am I really the only bisexual person here? Is that it?
Non-bisexual too, but we're talking about the vast majority of people.
Okay, but you could just say, okay, sexual interest, and I don't think it merits, like, there might be, yes, a mismatch, there might be a communication problem, but hey, it is a giant ocean out there, and there are plenty of fish in the sea. So this is something
bisexual man.
Oh, fair, but it's something that I think we should be ready to navigate, and we can't be incel about it. We need to be brave.
You're now, gang, I'm going to appoint you all king for a few seconds. You are king of the world, and you can dictate culture. You can hand down prescriptions for legislation, anything with just a snap of your fingers. What is the one thing you do to fix men's problems? The one decree that you make, the one thing that you change about society, or any of these kinds of things that you say, okay, we're going to get rid of this stigma, or we're going to add this piece of legislation. What do we do? I'm going to start with Tuna, and we're going to work our way around. Tuna.
Work back to me in a second. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase mine.
Carl.
Universal basic social housing.
Universal basic social housing fixes men issues. What do you think, Mr. Hammond?
It's the best we got.
I don't know how I would specifically word this. I guess I would say don't consider men exploitable and don't consider men exploitable and expendable.
Men no longer expendable. The Expendables movie is discontinued, and we never watch it.
Yes.
Blacktoid.
Remove the cultural hyperfixation on equity and emotion, and fixate more on other values.
Okay, get rid of fixation on emotion. Emotion bad. Okay, Lawson.
And equity.
And equity as well. Lawson.
I don't think Lactoy said emotion bad. I do agree with his sentiment, though. The over-validation of, like, every single feeling and emotion, I think, is not what men need. Men.
Okay.
Well, maybe.
Lycan.
I don't have an answer to that. I think I don't know. I don't think there's any one thing that's going to fix any issue.
Okay, wow.
What's the best?
Based, non-action king right here. Okay, Tuna, your last but not least.
Change the human psychology. I know it's crazy to understand that desire, when it's fulfilled, will always be replaced by a new desire. So create a healthier relationship to desire, because I think that's the main part with all people.
Very zen. Okay.
I'm so upset. Is this really Twitch politics? This is like only one policy prescription and the rest of vibes, or I give up?
I'm talking about fucking eugenics here, brother. What do you want?
Okay, great. So you're willing to take those vibes and, like, enforce it on a brain chip level. Great. Okay, got it.
No,
wait. To be fair, Wick did say we were kings or dictators.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
If you want a realistic thing, we could have answered realistically. But I'm saying, what's the
give me a
problem
realistic thing. I'm just trying to say that, like, first of all, $2 for Testicle Johnson. If women were less educated, that would help men. We're not going to touch that one for now. But okay, give us a more realistic one, Tuna, if you want to. Like, what's some legislation they could pass today?
I would get rid of international trade and make it so that all nations have to have a full economy that incorporates all different forms of the economy under its own legislation, where all workers are recognized as such. So we would move back to getting energy, and we would do extraction on our own property, not on other nations,
Okay.
so that the people doing it, we could
This
all
was a
sort
mistake.
all the different types of people.
No, I get you.
Wait,
Are men? Oh, go ahead.
I don't think this is something that can be fixed with policy. I think social issues are very, very difficult to address with policy.
Okay, fair enough.
If I could pose a question, what are individual things that we could do, like everyone on this panel, to help this problem?
Say it again.
What are things we could individually do to fix this problem?
Be on panels about masculinity.
True.
Meme harder.
Donate to panels about masculinity, gang. That was
let's say when we're not online. How about that?
Honestly, this is the biggest thing that I want. It'll never happen just because of how the sexual marketplace works. But if men would stop validating like bullshit emotions, or stop validating bullshit just because they want to get some, like the world would be a better place. It just would be.
But then we'd never get any lactoid.
We have to be okay with that
Look,
happening.
Women put
called
up
a
with
filter.
our bad jokes. They pretend they're funny. I'm going to pretend that what they just said was valid, okay? And that's the deal. They pretend my jokes are funny. I pretend what they say is valid, okay? That's the deal. That's a contract. Don't break that shit.
You send more messages. The one that comes back, those are yours.
So I asked a question. I'll give an answer. I own a business, construction business. Construction workers generally, I think, fall into the demographic that we're kind of concerned about. Very like stoic, emotionless guys. So I try to be the counterweight to that. You know, when I notice one of my guys are having a shitty go at it, like I try to open up emotionally, or let them know like, hey man, if you got shit going on, you know, let me know. But I get the sense that everyone on this panel probably doesn't have a problem with that. So yeah,
Good.
I'm trying to think of another like thing we could do individually.
Doesn't that, well, I'll have a problem with that just for Steelman purposes. Doesn't that just encourage more people to not deal with their shit and instead rely on others? Doesn't that encourage a sort of, just a kind of like a woe is me mentality, like not being able to fix it on your own? Shouldn't we be encouraging people to make sure that they can take care of their own shit?
Yeah, but when men confide in other men, as far as me, when I'm confiding in another guy, I want like 10% to vent and someone to listen, and then 90% help me solve the problem and get advice. That's what I'm looking for. And I think most guys probably feel that way, maybe.
Social. It is sort of, this is one of those social prescriptive differences in men and women. Men are counted on to be problem solvers in the dominant hegemony, and women are expected to deal with it. And so emotional communication is paramount. And this is again cultural. So I don't know that we can say that it has to change. Think it'd be welcome.
Okay, I have one more question for the. Well, anyone else want to answer that before I get to my?
I want to answer.
Okay, answer that question. And I got one last question for the panel before we start wrapping.
I guess I'm next. So I would say, I've always said, men need to support and advocate for themselves and other men. I would say, like, if you know any men personally, I would say, like, men are encouraged to sacrifice themselves, to give themselves, like, to destroy their lives for other people, especially their families. And I would say, if you're talking to another man, say like, hey, sometimes you need to put yourself first. Sometimes, your wife or whatever, you don't have to do everything that you can to provide and support her. Sometimes you need to like step back and do things for yourself.
I don't think that we have to do anything. I think this solves itself. Losers will die. The culture will let losers die, and that's probably it's maybe good for us to just not think of it from a wealth care position where we eternally hold on. Like, it's the same thing with the hot people. The halo effect doesn't need to be fixed. That's our species becoming better at fucking. Like, we're supposed to want to fuck and reproduce as much as possible. So, yeah, ugly people should be bred out. The same thing should also be said in the social milieu. People that are complainers, people that don't solve their own problems. I would say, don't listen to people vent. If someone's venting to you and it's clear they don't want a solution, turn the call off. Hang
Yeah,
up.
I agree with that.
I
If
have
they
a- I have a
don't
ca-
want a solution, then yeah.
I have a counterpoint to that. So you say that like the halo effect is good because more attractive people breed, and that makes the gene pool better. But the data shows that that like attractive people are more successful, and the data also shows that more successful people have less children, and the people having children are the least successful people. So they're actually the ones breeding more because of the halo effect.
I don't want to have a big population. I want to have a smart, sexy population that's good at fucking the amount that is correct. Fucking too much is retarded. Fucking too much creates problems. We need to have the right number of people and have them be good people. We don't need hundreds of like fucking mouth breathing people going into a world where more and more over time, you need to be smarter, clever, and have fewer workers as opposed to have just tons of fucking thralls. Unless you just want to feed Amazon, fill the factories with fucking idiots. That's not what I'm interested in.
Okay.
Well,
Any
we need
thoughts
idiots
before I get
also
my last
from
question?
Neil.
Wait,
Oh, go ahead. Well, let's get
Can I just
Lycan
say-
to get his answer
sure.
before
sure.
we move on.
Say the question again.
What is one thing you can do individually, right, in your life now to help other men?
Reach out and be a friend. I think that's been the theme for what I've been saying. Reach out and be a friend. Like, don't hesitate to say, "Hey, bro, how you doing?" I think that's a big thing.
Lycan,
So
you have something?
So I first of all, Hammer, 2 points. First, I'll agree with you. It is true that there tends to be a higher fertility rate among lower intelligence people, and a lot of this has to do with impulsivity control. That's not something that necessarily is controlled for by the halo effect. The second point, though, that I wanted, or I guess more of a question, is you said men should make more decisions for themselves and less for their family. I actually disagree, but I do agree that perhaps like in the same way we push men, and we should push men to step up and to be the provider for the family, that I think that we should also push women to sacrifice for their own family as well. And so, I mean, not only in terms of sacrificing your career, if it means having kids, if that's something you want to do, I think that that's reasonable and that should be encouraged and respected, but also like minor things, right? So, for example, like breastfeeding, right? The vast, like 95% or whatever of women can naturally breastfeed. But a whole bunch of them, the majority of people who say they can't, simply perceive themselves as not being able to, because it's inconvenient, right? It's inconvenient to do it, and then once they stop, then they actually do lose the ability. Perhaps this isn't less about telling men to take more time for themselves, and maybe just setting more of a culture of no. When you have a family, you should be like regardless of if you're a man or a woman, like maybe we should push this on women too. Like you should be doing everything you can to provide a home for that child, even if it does mean sacrificing your career, and even if it does mean the wage gap is going to like increase overall a few percentage points. Oh, I think having a mom at home is like worth that personally. But
Can I respond? So I completely agree that if you have a family, you need to sacrifice big time. I think one of the biggest problems in society overall is selfish parents. So of course you should give up things, but I think there's a lot of times men don't even know that they can like basically like you can be aggressive, but like you can't really stand up for things you really need. Like if you're in an argument and like you're being mistreated, men don't know that they can basically say like I deserve better than this, stuff like that. And I think that just letting them know that if it is really important and it is right for them to stand up for themselves, then they should be able to do it, not just be like the strong stoic guy who always puts up with whatever happens to them.
Okay. 2 more questions. Well, $2 from Testicle Johnson. Men and women should be breastfeeding their kids. Thank you for the $2. There is a last question though from Testicle Johnson that I had one, but I'm going to keep that in the chamber for another day, maybe, or maybe for call-ins when we do those. But this is a good question. And then we'll go to closings, and we will take call-ins. And women, you can call in. In fact, I will prioritize women callers. If you want to confront men, now's your chance. I picked the manliest of men. Only the manliest of men. So if you want to call in and ask a question, right, or have a comment, hit that exclamation point Discord, click the button, accept the rules, jump backstage, and we'll pull you in. But first, before we do that, what is the best advice you would give to a 15-year-old boy who's about to become a man? You have a child in the audience. He's about to come into his manhood. What's the advice you give him? What do you tell him?
Learn a trade skill.
Learn a trade skill?
I'll go. When women tell you it's okay to cry in front of them, don't believe them. Work, seriously, I'm dead serious about this. Work instead on getting buff and rich, and those two things will help you tremendously throughout your life. And get good social skills too.
Don't cry in front of women from Lactoid. Okay, anyone else? Please, someone.
Wash your ass and don't get her pregnant.
Wash your ass, don't get her pregnant. Got you. Anything else? Any other advice?
I would say there's more to life than impressing women. Don't derive your self-worth from what women think of you.
Based. Okay. Anything else from Tuner or Lycan?
Don't be ashamed to pursue power mercilessly and without shame. I mean, I guess shame twice. Just pursue power. Become as powerful and important, as essential to as many people as possible.
Okay, Lycan, anything else?
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women.
Based. Okay, with that, I will give everyone here a chance to shout themselves out. Where can you find you, etc.? Any last closing thoughts on this you want to have? Let's be concise, because I do want to get to the callers, and I want to spend a little bit of time. If you have to go, I understand. We booked this for 2 hours, but if you'd like to call in and you'd like to spout off, if you'd like to have your opinion, right? You are more than willing. We're more than willing to have you. Gang, if you like this show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch or Kick, hit that follow button. Throw some bits my way, subs my way. If you're too shy to come on and ask your question in person, you can super chat your question in the YouTube chat, or you can throw enough bits at me and I'll read your question out that way. But with that, let's go to closing thoughts and shouts outs and etc. And we'll start with Lycan and we'll work our way around. So Lycan, shout yourself out. Where can people find you, etc.?
Yeah, Lycan cooks on all platforms. If you check out if you check out Reels on Instagram or TikTok or Shorts on YouTube, I've got some cooking content up there. You know, those quick chopped up cooking videos. My main content is cooking. I'm going to be starting first person GoPro streams, kind of 𝕍𝖍𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜 style soon. So yeah, Lycan cooks on every platform. And yeah, thanks for having me, Wick.
No, thanks for being here. Next up, Lawson Harrison, go.
Yeah, you can find me in Wick's Discord. Other than that, I don't do anything online.
Where only the manliest of men hang out, and women too. Lactoid, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm sick, if you guys didn't notice, and it's actually worse because testosterone is a immunosuppressant. So a men's sickness actually is a bigger deal. So I'm impressed I was able to make it to the whole panel. Thank you, Wick, for having me.
I'm proud of
you. Can find me. You can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
No, thanks for being here. And I understand that you were sick, and again, never feel obligated, but I appreciate that you were able to push through this debilitating sickness and man up and come on the panel.
Wick, I'm just saying, any like right-wing streamer guests tend to meet their obligations. I'm just saying.
Mr. Hammer, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I guess we didn't get as much into whether or not feminism can really address men's issues. I think that I kind of gave good reasons as to why I really don't think it does. I think that men need to come together on their own and just solely look at it from their own perspective and their own point of view, and that's what I support. My you can find me on twitch.tv/m_r_hammer, and I stream as much as I can, and I actually have an open Discord policy, so if anyone wants to come in at any time, any subject, whatever, just jump in and yell at me, and I'm okay with anything.
Check them out, gang. Thanks for coming. Let's go quickly. We got some callers. Go ahead, Carl.
All right. So I am Carl, aka 𝕾𝖎𝖙. You can find me at 𝕾𝖎𝖙.tv, and every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, at the Eco-Modernist channel, or Eco-Modernist 1 on YouTube. That's my regular serious content interview and chat show. I guess what I can say about this is that, yeah, typical Tumblr feminists are not going to help men. That's a big surprise, isn't it? I think we sort of need an alliance between men and true intersectional feminists, and I don't know where the best place to start is, but I do see like some hope out there. But yes, it is not that popular sentiment of lean-in feminism that is going to do it for us men.
Well, thanks for coming, and appreciate you. And the place to start is on WhickTV, gang. Last but certainly not least, Tuna Chip. What you got?
What's up? Tuna Chip on Twitch, Tuna Chip on YouTube, Tuna Chip TV on Twitter. Yeah, thanks for the panel. Yeah, not much can be said other although I will say something that I wish we could have focused a bit more on, is that man is a sort of anachronism at this point as a central identity. It's kind of ambiguous. Most people are facing problems that are being defined from the outside. So just like in being a man, just be aware what people think about you, but don't let it define you. Be an individual first. That's kind of what being a man will eventually always be a quest in the pursuit of. So that's it.
Gang, thank you to all my guests. I understand if you have to go, but until you do, let's bring on some callers.
Okay, I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick, but I will be back.
Do you think?
Pour one out.
Hello, you're live. You're muted on your end.
Oh, I'm retarded. Holy shit. Hold on. Hey
Is
guys.
that lav?
It's a lady.
What's up, guys? It's me. You know, I just came in for the last 7 minutes of this. I have no idea what anyone's position is. But I just wanted to say that, you know, the state of the world is sad. To see men, to look around and see a bunch of low testosterone men on a panel talking about how hard your lives are, talking about how eepy you are, talking about how hungry you are. Come on.
So
name
there's
five,
a solution.
Name five things.
You are way better than this, you fucking shithead. You can do way better. That is the weakest fucking come on that you have done in your history in this space. Fucking leave the call and come back and do better.
Yeah,
Jesus
were you
Christ.
too
No one has
intimidated by
fucking
us?
said that shit.
If you're complaining about how hard your life is, you shouldn't be able to fucking breed. Okay? If you're a
Well, I've
Spartan
solved
man,
that problem.
you take
So,
it.
next question.
You take it.
Lab,
What do you-
that-
what
Next question.
that's a
what do you-
popular opinion in this room right now, actually.
Is it actually?
Yeah, you
Slut?
don't breed.
Okay. Okay, awesome. What do you got? Like for men, like what, like for like oppression, like who's saying that men are oppressed? I really haven't been here. I just came on here because
do
I was
you
like,
understand
I could do
there's
this.
intersections of oppression, and it's not about being individually oppressed. It's about those systems and dismantling the systems.
Well, okay, so what are we dismantling? What is the system? Like what
The
what
gender
things?
and sex hierarchy.
And you guys are like, you're mad that you're on top or what?
Well, hey, it depends where in the economic chain you are. If you're on top, yeah, you're definitely on top. If you're on the bottom, you're definitely on the bottom as a man. I mean,
Yeah,
was
so
it-
become a eunuch or kill
here's
yourself.
some systemic issues that men face. that
Just-
have
just
been
earn
brought
more
up.
money.
Let me
Just
kind
earn
of
more
run
money.
through. Let me run
Just
through them real
looks,
quick,
Max.
if I can. So men are graduating less, they're being accepted to college less, they're applying to college
Thank
less,
God.
they're being less educated. That is
Thank
a
God.
systemic issue that men are facing. Men
Put 'em in the
also
military.
receive harsher sentences for the same crime that women do. That
Because they're
is a
more likely
huge
to
disparity.
reoffend than
Right.
women are.
The third
That's
thing-
not true.
That's
Men
That's
are.
not
that's
accurate.
not the
I'm
reason
going to
that
run through
they
them,
get
and then we'll get to
arrested.
That's not
I'm gonna run
accurate.
through 'em,
It's not
and we're gonna
true.
get
That's
to
why
'em.
you don't care.
Okay,
That's why
I'm
you
gonna
don't
understand.
care.
True.
But let me run through them all.
I say
before-
kill everyone who commits a crime. Everyone.
Go
Third
dark
thing.
and edgy, kid.
Lab,
thing.
you don't want that. You don't want that. You wouldn't be able to say that sentence if it was true.
Oh, you guys are distracting.
I've never
me.
committed a
You guys
crime.
are distracting.
Go ahead,
me,
Wick. Go ahead,
okay?
Wickalist.
Men.
Oh no, but they shut down Omegle.
Oh
You
my
know you
God!
committed
If you
some
guys don't
crimes
let me
there.
talk, I'm going to mute you. Okay, thank you. Okay.
He's
the
oppressed
third
right now.
thing that the issue that men have to face systemically is there are thousands of women's shelters for domestic abuse. I can't think of one. There's maybe one or two nationally, maybe a little bit, right?
For
They
men,
have,
for
they
male
don't have
victims.
for domestic abusivism.
Yeah,
Men are also.
if you're getting beat up by your
Let me
wife,
get through them.
you're a
Men. Let me get through
pussy.
them.
You're a pussy. Take it.
Men.
Men are bigger and stronger to be like tanks. They're more durable. You guys were made to get beat up. If you don't like it, fucking cut your dick off. Become a eunuch.
Men
I mean,
are
to be
also
fair-
more likely. 80% of the people who get killed in the world are men, right?
Thank God.
Who get murdered are men.
Let's get those numbers up.
Wait, I have a question. So, Lav, you say so you are upset that men are like in successful position, billionaires, and women are like
No, I'm not
housewives and stuff. Well, you're upset. You're saying, well, men feel oppressed because they're winning too much, right?
I don't think I ever said that. I said if you
You literally said that earlier. You said that.
No,
that's a
if you're
misinterpretation.
no. If you're a man and if you're a man and you're like a low T beta male and you can't make it, sucks for you. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There are
Okay, but what
solutions
about-
to that.
What about
Become a
men who are-
eunuch. Become a stay-at-home mother.
What about men
You
who
could
are
also go
killed
to
in war?
Cabela's. Go to Cabela's and buy yourself a
Dude,
nice
go to a
little-
doctor. Go to a
Tuna.
doctor.
There
go
you
to a
go.
doctor. Get on
First
some
right thing she
testosterone.
said.
Get on some
Endocrinologist.
Yeah, go exactly. Go to an endocrinologist, get some fucking tea, go work out, go find some male friends, go take like shooting lessons at your local a gun range, right? There are so many things that you could do. As
To be
a man.
real, this is
Wait,
vastly
hold on.
underdiagnosed.
Your
Different-
prescription. Wait, hold on. Your prescription for men who are having a lot of problems is to go take shooting lessons.
Yes.
It's a terrible idea. What the
So
fuck?
that they don't miss. So that they don't miss.
And that's where men will talk to other men offline. It's a solution.
No,
Wait,
okay, maybe
so-
not that, but join a gym. Absolutely join a gym. Absolutely go see an endocrinologist. Go I don't know, take a fucking what do men do? Where do men congregate except for 4chan?
Why
The
do you
shooting
want to-
range.
Wait.
So-
Wait. Can we go one at a time? Here?
Dog parks?
And
Why-
our
Go find
high
it. Go find it.
executive
Go to a
officers-
dog
officers
park. Get a
Tuna's
dog.
where we
Tuna's
pull in our
right.
salaries.
Tuna's
I have a
right.
question.
Tuna's right here. Let's go one at a time. Let's toss it to Tuna, and then we'll go to Hammer, and then if anyone else wants in, we'll go. Go ahead. Defend your masculinity towards.
Oh, my
Lav.
masculinity doesn't have to. I agree with a lot of things. The only problem with Lav is that she's a memer and she just wants to talk how she wants to kill men. But men are better at killing men than
True.
she'll ever
And that's
be
why I
at
love
killing
him.
men.
And that's why I love him.
But first off, why do you want to take men to the endo? What's the endo for? Like,
What do you
low
mean?
T?
Yeah.
You think just like okay, if it's creating health problems for you, maybe go for it. But like, if you're a low T man, people would be better off.
First of all, if your testosterone levels are too low as a male, you're like more likely to experience things like depression, and that's like
Heart conditions.
that's dysgenic.
And that's why
So
women are
go
more
get
likely to
fixed.
experience depression and anxiety.
Exactly,
and
exactly.
neuroticism.
Exactly. So women are depressed are oppressed biologically, and you're mad.
Why
And
are
you're
you
mad?
bringing them to wait, Lav, you're being inconsistent.
Women
Why
are
you bringing
oppressed
them to the
biologically.
endo?
Interesting.
You
They
should just-
are.
You should just let the low T men
disagree with that.
sexually fail so that only people that have proper hormone distribution inside of their genes progress. You don't bring them to the endo and let them create this industry that's living off of their fucking broken biology. Let them
Well-
go extinct.
Okay,
mm,
Lav, I'm going to tell you this because we got a bit of a line building. Lav, we are going to have an all-women panel on what's the problem with men on Wednesday. You're welcome to
Oh,
come
hell
on
yeah.
to that.
Am I-
Oh
Am I
hell
welcome?
yeah! I'm
I'll
a
tell you
be
about
I
the
will
there.
treatment.
sign you up.
I'm
I
a
will
be
put you
there.
on. Okay, but for
Can I
now,
come
though,
on?
we do got to get some more people. So last thought, and then we'll move on.
Okay, my
He is
last
the
thought is
Kick her out.
my last thought is you say that like if men say they have an issue, then they should just like get more testosterone. They're not manly enough. What if I were to go to a feminist, say, hey, if you're complaining about how you women have all these issues, it's probably 'cause you should just get hotter, like wear more makeup. You're not hot
Wait,
enough.
true.
You're not much
Wait,
enough of
true.
a woman.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's, wait,
fine,
it's not
fuck
enough
it.
of a. It's not that you're like enough of a woman, but like, yeah, you should definitely look.
Well,
smash.
that's what you're saying. So yeah, if you're like a feminist,
This is what I'm saying.
complaining
This
that
is
you're
my-
not
this is
enough of
my-
a woman,
Okay, let
so you
this
should
is my
get, like-
final thought.
Closing thought.
This is my
closing
final
thought. Go
thought.
ahead.
If you are failing as a man, become a eunuch or kill yourself.
Good job.
Okay.
Excellent job.
Okay, I want to share with this. This is like how I got rid of my hormone problems, and so I have a serious I actually have a brain tumor that is treatable with medication. It is less common than you might think, but it is also underdiagnosed. Absolutely, go talk to a doctor if you have any kind of problem, and ask for a hormone panel. it's really essential to your health and your longevity.
Noted. Okay, well, on that lovely note, we have our next contestant on whatever the frick this
Can
is,
I-
Admiral Gibbs. Oh, go
Let
ahead.
me just say one quick thing. Lab convinced me. I take back everything I've said this whole panel. Go ahead, Gibbs.
Yeah, so well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you what's the problem with me in a minute today, right here. I'll tell you right now. It's every single one of y'all that sat here and told me all this bullshit about we're gonna sit here and we need to talk about our feelings and we need to start crying. And listen, I never talked about social bootstraps or whatever, but it's time for people to pull up some bootstraps to get to work. If you're sitting here going, "Oh, I'm crying, why can't I get shit done?" Go outside. Get something done. You're sitting here crying about, I'm not manly enough. Kill a deer, eat the deer. Like that's gonna raise your T level. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're sitting here talking about not being manly enough and all these things, that's what the problem with Americans today, and men in general is. These women, they're like, oh, the women got too masculine. No, it's not that women got too masculine. It's that men got too feminine. And they're over sitting here and they're crying and they're weeping and moaning and gnashing teeth, and y'all are sitting here enabling it. Y'all are enablers.
All right, 9505. We are back with the Rush Limbaugh Show. That has been our crazy caller number 12. Wick, what are you taking next?
Any responses, Admiral? Thank you for coming on.
Is it part of the problem that women have gotten too masculine as well? Like it seems like both sides kind of.
Yeah, true.
Because if you're a man, they're not going to be more masculine than you.
Okay.
What's the problem? Like, if they're more masculine than you, hey, listen, it's not a big problem. Yeah. It's a low T problem or a low man problem. Like, listen, be more of a dude. Like, it's that simple.
Gibbs, we love you, but for now,
that was gonna.
Adios.
Again, modern medicine is fantastic. I highly endorse it. I do not endorse going back to nature and hunting the buffalo.
People's Elbow, you're up. What you got?
Tobacco does raise your T, by the way.
True. No, actually, it suppresses the shit that I have to take medicine for.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was a positive. He's saying that.
Oh, good. Oh, wait, maybe.
It doesn't suppress his medicine. It suppresses the thing that his medicine suppresses. He's taking cigarette pills, basically.
Right, cigarette pills right here.
Interesting.
True.
People's
Is
Elbow.
it the nicotine or is it tobacco?
Let's get to the caller.
It's something a lot more fun.
Pelbo, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Admiral Gibbs hit it. There's no problem with women getting more masculine simply because they're not. What the real problem, and Gibbs was hitting on it, is you boys are turning into girls. Many of you are. That's the problem. We have schools, popular culture, the entertainment industry that are trying to turn boys into girls, suppressing their normal activity, suppressing their aggressiveness, trying to teach and convince boys to act in ways that are completely unnatural. Sit still, be quiet, be calm, and worse, this is what I think is the worst thing, is I think all of this focus on men's problems is inducing problems. It is causing men to feel as though they have a problem or multiple problems. And of course, we have a pop culture and entertainment industry, which is willing to facilitate it, and a pharmaceutical industry, which is willing to use drugs to cater to it, to try to treat these problems that don't actually exist, but have been absolutely induced by a variety of different sectors of our social.
Yeah,
People's Elbow.
I want people to respond to this, but if I have any callers that disagree with some of the people on the panel, that would be great, right? If we have callers that want to challenge maybe Lactoid's takes or Mr. Hammer's takes or anything,
that's right.
That would be lovely.
I just want to ask the caller if he's vaccinated.
No.
Well, but I want to comment.
And haven't had COVID.
People's Elbow, you should know, trans men are amazing, and you really got to try it.
I don't know what a trans man is. It doesn't.
Well, he could be a trans man,
but okay.
Okay, well, lovely. People's Elbow, thank you for the call.
How can you know if it doesn't exist if you don't know what it is? I know what a dragon is, but I know it doesn't exist. But what's a carbuncle? It doesn't exist because I made the word up.
I have a
you know what a trans man is?
I have a quick thing to say. Wait, so I agree that our society is really not catered. It's not basically encouraging a lot of masculine traits, which I think is a problem. But if that's a problem, how do you acknowledge that there is a problem? right? Like you say,
What?
like it's inducing our problems to talk about it,
Right.
but
I
at some
think
point we
so.
should.
What you're talking about are two different things. Let's not conflate that there are problems with teaching boys how to become men and exercise themselves as men, and then the issue that we have and we're really suffering from. That's where we have adults in young boys and young men's lives telling them that they have problems. They are toxic. They are too masculine. They are a danger and a threat and a risk to women inherently simply because they're a man. This kind of talk, this type of persuasion induces mental health issues that really don't exist except for they've been induced and introduced to the young man or young boy.
Pelbo. So I'm getting it that
Tuna.
you're saying that there are two problems. One, instead of honing masculinity into a productive force, we're instead repressing it, and it's creating individual issues for people, right? That's your prescription.
I think our schools and our popular culture are attempting to eradicate masculinity. We've simply concluded that masculinity is inherently toxic and dangerous, and we're trying to turn young boys into girls.
That's not okay. So I hear you. That's true for certain classes. The higher up you get in the classes, the more that we're trying to feminize men because the economy that they're going into, the jobs that they're trying to fill, don't require masculinity.
People don't know.
We love poor people to be masculine. We love it when they're masculine.
Maybe.
What's up?
We're getting to the next caller.
Okay.
We have women in the chat, and I did say I was going to
Bring in the girls, baby.
Yes, I was going to
Got
prioritize
booted
the women callers.
like
so that's what
the
I'm gonna do.
disposable male he is.
Mad Honeybee, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
You're a little low, but I'll turn you up.
I can turn my gain up too.
It's okay.
Turn it up.
Streaming settings and Discord settings always fight with each other. Hi guys. So I came in late. I heard a lot of what was being said. I mean, I agree with a lot of stuff too. One thing I wanted to touch on though was kind of like this coalition thing. Like what was said earlier, you kind of have to talk about both women and men's issues when you're talking about either it just is what it is. Everybody just kind of needs to get over it, you know, on all sides and just fucking deal. We live together in society, so we have to. If we're trying to compare human beings, there's only so many groups you can start putting people into to compare them against one another, right? So it is what it is. I wanted to really touch on the listening versus talking things. I was just chuckling and typing in chat. I don't remember who said it. The 10% fix, or excuse me, the 10% listen, 90% fix, or whatever that was. I forgot who said it, but it is interesting because women are the polar opposite. We are talking to you because we are talking to you for you to listen. Your man brain immediately goes, problem, let's solve it. And our woman brain is shut the hell up because we just need to talk this out. We're still friends with the girl we're bitching about. Leave us alone and right, we'll get over it. But with that being said, this is a problem both men and women face, is even though I sit here and I know that as a woman that you guys try to fix it, when it's happening in real time, all I do is get pissed off that he is not listening to me. Even though my brain knows he's trying to solve the problem.
Mad Honeybee, can I ask?
Yes.
How can you be better to men? What can you do in your life to be more accepting, loving, kind, caring to men?
Okay, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
It's gonna sound bad, but shut the fuck up and listen, because that is the truth. We are not men, okay? While we are humans and we share human experiences, there is shit that is just fundamentally different biologically to women and men. It doesn't, and the whole debate about that shit doesn't even matter, okay? It just, we all know that at a surface level, we're going to go through different things regardless of an identity because of biological makings, right? I'm going to get my period. Y'all need to get your prostates checked. It is what it is, right? Like these are things. We need to understand that first and foremost. And when women are talking about what's bothering them, listen, even if you think they're fucking dumb, it doesn't matter. Just listen. You might actually like hear something and there might be a problem for you to fix later on. You never know. And for women, you need to understand that when these men are talking about the things that are bothering them, whether you think a lot of men are soying out or not, it takes men, most average men, it takes them a lot to admit they have a problem and then to discuss the problem and then to discuss it publicly I'm sorry, like that takes a lot for the, and again, average, right? The majority of men. So really listen to what they're saying and we can fucking work together. I promise you we can work together. Also, technology has fucked us all up. It's made men fucking soy. It's made women masculine. The world gets easier. We get different. That is what it is as well.
I was looking at DM, so I didn't exactly hear what you said, but thank you for calling in, Matt Honeybee. Really appreciate
I got a
Love you,
comment.
Wick.
Thank you for some of that, Mad Honeybee. If you want to hear more about like how men and women ought to approach communication in our dominant culture, I want to recommend some channels like the 𝕵𝖎𝖙. And if you're an old person like me, 𝕶𝖍𝖙 is definitely one of those writers that you can get behind in terms of breaking down those communication barriers. So I appreciate some of the sentiment, but modern medicine is still based.
I love, if you can go to the doctor, go to the doctor. I'm not, modern medicine. Sometimes there is something wrong with you and you need help. And it is what it fucking is.
Give us what you got, like point, then we're going to get to the next caller.
Can I just ask, like, instead of men like listening, like, why isn't the onus on women to like stop talking? Why can't it be the other way around?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's for everybody. Sometimes just needs to shut the fuck up and women need to shut up. And when it's time for like men to explain stuff or whatever their issue is, that's all I was saying.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Right, bye.
What an audience I have. I love all my audience. And gang, if you want to support my channel, please continue to give me subs, give me bits, throw some super chats in there. We'll get to them.
That tape was sicker than me.
Oh, we got another call.
Mooncake. We got a couple more. Mooncake, what you got?
Okay, cool.
Muted on your end, Mooncake.
Ask the question to me. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's no problem. That's what I always do. I always end up muted. Okay, right to the point. I guess kind of what I just wanted to add, and it's kind of like a question/statement, but my worry is that men are failing other men. Like I think a lot of times men aren't taking responsibility for the reason they're falling behind. I think that even comes to masculinity, right? When Gibbs came in here, and I do love Gibbs, but when he said like, "Oh, just shoot a deer, get over it," like stuff like that. Like this isn't I don't know, like the 1500s anymore, or whatever that would happen. I think we have to move with the times. And I think men are not moving with the times. They're just not like adjusting properly.
The times suck.
Okay.
There are 3 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙s on this panel. I don't know what you want. We're moving on with the times. We're dealing with it.
True. We're done with women.
Also, Mooncake, I saw you in the chat. I'm 6'2", first of all, so you can stop with the fucking misinformation. Jesus.
True. That's right.
Okay.
Also,
I don't know if it's misinformation.
Men have adapted. A lot of men have adapted, but we don't. You say that you want men to adapt. A lot of people say this, but then people change their mind later because the very idea of like a desirable man is still part of that old world. The aesthetics of it, the sexuality of it are part of the old world. It just turns out that right now, in order to be like a functioning man, you kind of have to sacrifice a lot of the things that do make you more desirable.
But what do you mean by that, I guess, per se? Only because, as you guys admitted earlier, men are falling behind in education, for example. So what do you mean when you say that?
Sure. So first thing, raising a barn, let's do some like crazy comparisons on the extreme ends. That's something that requires like a lot of physical strength, especially when you don't have a crane, a gun, a computer. This takes a lot of the things that men were prized for before and just makes it so that they're part of the tools they use. So as long as you're able to use those tools, you don't need to put, stats into those things to get nerdy for it. As it is now, the majority of what men are supposed to do is be, I guess, like ruthless business people and like try and constantly pursue their best interest. I advocate for it. Nonetheless, it doesn't make you more attractive. It's when everybody's saying that women like people, like guys with a bunch of money, women care about looks too. But there's a certain realism that women have adjusted to that is like, they still, like, look at who women cheat with versus who men cheat with. Men cheat with hogs. Most of the time when a man cheats on his wife, the girl he's cheating on is much less attractive. Women cheat with attractive men. Desire shows itself.
Not exactly though, because a lot of times when women cheat, it's more of an emotional connection. So usually they're lacking that emotional connection in their relationship, and then they start to go out there to look for that, and then they cheat. I don't think it's always about attractiveness. I think it's more
Attractive
personality.
people are who we have emotions about. We don't care. We don't have strong emotions about ugly people. There's a very strong resonance.
But attraction is different for everybody, right? Just because I find someone attractive doesn't mean you will.
Well, here's an example. Like when somebody cheats in a relationship, the woman seems to care more about whether or not the man has a emotional attraction to her or connection, whereas the man is just like, well, was he bigger than me? That seems to be what each sex cares about differently there.
True.
Okay.
Wait, can I address real quick? I just want to make another.
We gotta move it along. So.
Okay, I just want to make another meta statement, which is that, like, again, whenever the topic of like, hey, society is failing men, society is giving men a hard time, feminists always want to come in and talk about, hey, how are men failing men? How can we blame this on men? What is the problems that men face? Well, it's toxic masculinity and it's patriarchy. Let's frame this as how can we fix men problem instead of like let's just discuss the problems broadly.
Yeah, how dare you, Mooncake? Anything to say for yourself before we send it to the void?
Okay, I'll just make this my final statement and then I'll let you move on. Just in general, I guess what I'm just trying to say. Oh, sorry. Wait, what did you say before that?
No, I'm asking you final thoughts. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess in general, what I just want to say is that at the end of the day, I do think this comes down to personal responsibility. And I'll always say that men need to take care of other men. You always see women taking care of other women. And I think you can only blame the other gender so much. And that's kind of what I mean by moving with the times, supporting each other, being there for each other, and all of that pushy stuff. But yeah, I support men. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, right. Liar.
What?
Mooncake will be with us Wednesday. She has a lot of thoughts on men that she'll be able to hash out with apparently Lav and some other people. But we have one more caller, and then we'll kind of Mad Honeybee, thank you for the $2. Yay to a panel not turning into a shit show. You're welcome. We have one last caller.
If she's still in the chat, just so she can type this. How do women support other women? I'm curious because I just don't know what that means. So,
I think women are actually worse to other women than men are, at least in terms of being catty and mean and
they
cruel.
Kiss each other.
I think
women maintain long-term relationships. They really tend to maintain like that 1, 2, 3, 4 long-term relationships.
Maybe. Miss Millie, hello, welcome.
Based.
Hi, hello, what's up?
What you got for us?
Yeah, so I just have a simple question. So for the gentleman here, if you had a magic wand that you could get rid of any issue that you have with whatever women do within relationships or just general interactions, what would be that one thing you would have women stop doing?
I would be less bored when they talk to me. Okay, but go ahead.
Try and focus more on problem solving rather than just being heard.
I mean, the magic wand I have usually solves whatever emotional problems they're having.
Hey, yo, we're not talking about the one down there. Okay.
My answer is kind of similar to Lawson's in the sense of I wish like women would stop prioritizing their own emotions over everything else. On average, not saying all women, obviously.
Yeah, but the question was, what would you change about yourself about what women do?
I don't know.
No. What would you change about? No, that wasn't the question.
Oh,
the question was, what would you change? One thing about a woman or any woman that you interact with, whether it be in a relationship or general interaction, what would you have them stop doing?
Okay, fair enough. I misheard the question. Anything else? Any other answers to this?
Mine's kind of fucked up, but I would say every once in a while, I think women should like, I don't know a good way to say this, like kind of leave us alone. Not like fuck off like permanently, but like sometimes men just need their space. Sometimes men like being alone more than women do, and sometimes women don't understand that.
I'm playing my games, Mom. Get the fuck out of my room.
True. Unironically, yes.
Be the social police of the world, trying to change the way that people express themselves, the way that people engage with themselves in play. I think that women have this bad habit of thinking that they have to take on some burden of being like the cop of every situation. You can't say that.
It's
You
the
can't
mom
do that.
instinct. Yeah.
Plenty of men do that too, though. I'd say that, maybe just
I do it to them all.
maybe to turn that around, be more charitable to the men's perspective, and that's a pretty bland answer, but really it's not something that we see a lot.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anything
That's
else
it.
before we let you go on this?
Nope. That's it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, gang, this was fun. I
Gang,
enjoyed
gang.
it. I'm grateful that you all came in here. Again, we are ending the show, but that's not the end of the content because we're going to be rating out into one of these lovely individuals. Who here is still streaming?
This guy.
This guy? Okay.
I'm gonna get out of here, so
Well,
send
who's-
it to Hammer.
Okay, send it to Hammer. Please
Thank you.
post your exact, because we tried to do this before and I remember. Please
Yeah.
post your exact stream title. Gang, if you
just-
like this content, hit that like button and subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Kick or Twitch, please hit that follow button. It really helps me out. Again, throw money my way. All great.
Twitch.
Did you figure out how to type? I just.
Rick.
How long is this gonna take for you to send me this?
In the chat, I think I got it. Okay, that should be good. Hopefully that works. Okay. And I need to set up Streamlabs, so it might take like a couple seconds, but here, I'm gonna turn off my camera so that my Streamlabs can use my camera, okay?
We're gonna be rating out in less than a minute now. But
Okay.
yes, next week, what do we got coming? We got Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna be talking about the Argentinian elections. We got SDL. We got Karl Marx. We have Corporal something or other. And we have Philosophical Zombie Hunter. They're gonna be arguing whether the new president of Argentina, who is a ANCAP, is going to be a disaster or is going to be the best thing to ever happen.
He's so based. He's the best fucking thing ever.
Okay,
oh
well,
my god.
If you want on that, we can bring you on that too. But for now, right? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have an all-women panel to talk about this same subject and see if the answers change, right? And we're going to be talking about whether or not, or what's the matter with men. And we're going to have Mooncake on, we're going to have Lav, we're going to have, I'm trying to get Xena on there too, we have a few others. And that should be a great, great topic. So tune in next week, but for now, see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.